You look at the last 8 games, they played West Ham. This is Manchester United we're talking about. They played West Ham, Aston Villa, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Wolves, Bournemouth, Everton, who were struggling, and Charlton. Man United should be winning these games. I don't like Man City. I'm not, keen on Man United, but I want Man City to put it past United, just to bring them down to earth.
Oh my God, say bye-bye to the league, man, because that is fucking shit. Oh my God.
Draws it across. Sakes, Hugo Lloris is fucking shit. Every fucking time there's a big game, this prick makes a fucking error. He's fucking shit. I've had enough of him.
Rest in peace. We are finished. The club that you all know, the club that you all love is finished. It's dead and buried. We are so far deep in the sewage. It stinks. It stinks. It stinks of human feces. It stinks of rubbish. It stinks of sewage. It stinks of rats. We're finished.
Leads us to 1-0 Brighton. There we go. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And shock horror, the sloppiness and shittiness continues.
Martin Odegaard! Yeah! Come on! Come on!
This is absolute.
No way, that was just a near post hit at Hugo.
What the hell is that? Wait, Sessio, why is he not closing him down? He's backing off to his 6 fucking yard goal.
Hugo.
That's the weakest fucking goal I've ever seen.
Fuck no, I'm done with Hugo.
We are a embarrassment of a football club, and John W. Henry, you old, decrepit Bostonian ballsack, I hope you fuck off out of this club. Get the fuck out. You are ruining this club from the inside out, you poisonous verminous.
Soliman! Come on, you Gunners! Take that expressions, boy! Take that fella! End that stream, Dave! End the stream! North London is red!
Welcome back to the Football Terrace Top 6 show. What an epic weekend of football we got to witness. Liverpool getting smashed by Brighton, United derailing further Man City's title hopes, Arsenal winning the North London derby, and Chelsea completing a hijack and getting 3 points. Did I miss anyone in the top 6? No, I didn't. Newcastle won as well, of course, and they're fighting hard to be inaugurated into it. Viewers, hit the like button, hit the share button now. Make sure you are subscribing. We've got lots to talk about today. Declan Rice to Arsenal, Trossard to Arsenal. 2 big transfer stories for you as well. We'll be going in deep on the Mudryk to Chelsea deal as well, because we haven't really had a chance to, as a terrace community, to talk about it because of the epic weekend of football that we witnessed. Vote now for the first talking point of the show. I think it's pretty clear cut what you all want to talk about. We'll be saving the North London derby for a little bit later until the numbers are. We can't cook that too soon. But look at my panel, look raring to go there. Jess and EGAL, of course, back in Arsenal. Patrick and George talking Tottenham, and JJ's here. I mean, in fairness, like, Spurs are upset, but Liverpool have got off lightly this weekend because they got absolutely rinsed out to dry by Brighton. So we will be touching that a little bit later in the show as well, no doubt. But the first talking point that's been voted for by the viewers, the Manchester derby. The Manchester derby, United came from behind, beat City. But I don't think we can really delve into the performance without tackling the elephant in the room with that. Bruno's goal. Patrick, what is your take on this goal? Should this have been given as offside, or was it a clean goal in your opinion?
It should have been given as offside because when Rashford went to, like, everyone would have thought Rashford would have touched, like, Rashford being in that position and being right next to the ball, it means the keeper doesn't know if he's going to hit it or not. Defenders don't know what's going to happen. So by the letter of the law, and just not even by the letter of the law, just any common sense, you can see he kind of interferes with the play. So I was shocked that they gave it. Crazy. I mean, in a way, it's kind of shaken up the apple cart, hasn't it? Everyone expected. No, that's a lie. We didn't expect Man City to win, but Man City going a goal up, you kind of thought, oh, this is going to be something that Man United are going to struggle to get back into the game. They didn't. They won. It makes things exciting. So from that perspective, it's good, but it's not fair, is it? It shouldn't have stood. And I understand why Man City fans are going crazy at the moment. Miles on side.
What are you saying, EGAL? Do you agree with that? Do you think it's a clear offside in your opinion?
The fact that it seems like he almost blocks Akanji from getting to the ball by basically just following the ball. He doesn't actually, even if he doesn't touch the ball, the sheer fact that he blocks Akanji from getting to the ball. Because if he's not there, Akanji is a step away from getting to the ball. The fact that he basically is walking around the ball, but he doesn't touch it, should be basically interference, in my opinion. But hey, I don't know how the rules are. I don't know how the rule makers.
I think it's the fact that he body feints a few times as well. As you see, like jinx left, jinx right, as if he's like.
I just thought he was slowing down. Have you ever seen like a 100-meter sprinter slow down? That's what they kind of do.
They jinx left and right. They body feint. They drop the shoulder. He dropped the shoulder a few times.
They can't just stop. Look, when you say interfering with play, Gal, like why? How does Rashford stop Akanji from running?
Because Akanji's physically behind him. He can't run through him and get to the ball. He's
Why
basically
not?
stopping the player from getting to the ball.
See, this is where I understand everyone's point, but this is where I disagree. If Akanji keeps running at full pelt to clear the ball and bangs into Rashford, Rashford's then offside because he interfered. Akanji stopped. Two things happening. Akanji stops running because he hasn't noticed Bruno. Akanji has to keep running towards the ball. He just goes, well, Rashford's offside, so I'm going to stop running. And suddenly Rashford stops running. Bruno comes through and scores. For me, it's a clean goal because of that. Akanji needs to. You can never assume in football.
But Terry, to counter that, wouldn't it be safe to say that Akanji's not going to run through him in the case that he's never 100% sure about the offside decision? So if he runs straight through him, causes a foul, then you're looking at a potential red card. Akanji, you can't really expect a player just being like, yeah, he's offside, let me run through him and take the risk.
But he knew he was offside. He thought he was offside. That's why he stopped running.
But
yeah,
again, it's not safe to say, let me go forward fully with the decision.
Do you know what it is, though? I don't think it's mad that I'm saying, but I don't think Akanji put any pressure on the ball. So he doesn't have to smash through him. But if he starts to like just try put pressure on Rashford, I think he interferes with play there.
Or tries to get around him, something. Yeah, sorry.
There was a rule change. There was a rule change where we've seen it where offsides are let to run just in case. Obviously, VAR can review it afterwards and see whether it's offside or not. Even that, you allow the attacking players to have kind of the benefit of the doubt in attacking scenarios. Right over there, like Akanji just he bottled it essentially because he should have went and said, I'm still going to go and do my job regardless whether it's offside or not. We've seen it loads of times with offsides when balls played in behind and the defender still has to react only for 10 seconds later for it to be flagged offside by VAR. I mean, it don't look great, but I know that's obviously what the rule is at the moment. So you can't really argue it. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say fair, but you know.
Can I?
Yeah.
Like my only thing on this is like this is one of those calls or the way the rule is written and the way it's played out on the pitch, and this was even said in Sky by whatever the little referee person was. Subjective.
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh, okay. It's subjective. Period. Like that's just what it is. Like on another day, a referee calls that back. Period. Like that's just what it is. And they said it multiple times. It's subjective, but we, you want to give it to the benefit of the attacker because we really don't want to stop goals, right? So why are we trying to stop goals going in? That's what football is all about. As long as we're all okay knowing that in certain circumstances that it will get called and it won't get called in others, then that's just what it is. But the rule needs to change.
Yeah.
But it leaves room for interpretation where it could go either way, depending on who's refereeing the game. And quite frankly, where you are. Man City got a home cooking. I've said that before. They just got a home cooking.
I agree.
I think Terry's playing 3D chess here. That's what I think. I think if this was Man United against another team, you would admit that it was an offside decision. But because, of course, it's against City, it gives Arsenal the advantage to the league title. Your new team that you support. It's all working out for you.
I like that. It's a good theory. It's just I'm more about if you don't like the rule, have a go at the rule. But there was an example. Some people have told me this is a bad example, but I'm going to explain why it's a good one. In the build-up to Everton's equaliser against Man United in the FA Cup, the other day. As this ball's headed towards Connor Cody, who eventually scores the goal, he's in an offside position. Malacia is just down on the left-hand side of the picture, and he's actually higher up the pitch than everybody else. He was offside. Varane, split second later, stops the ball. As you can see, Connor Cody is opening his body up to control that ball that was headed into him, and Varane clears it. It's not offside because Connor Cody hasn't touched the ball, but he's interfering with play because Varane has to stop the ball from coming to him, because if you go back to the original picture, Varane doesn't know if he's on or offside. But this same law within the offside rule means because Varane's now tried to play it, he is onside. This is a different anomaly within the same rule. This one is the other way around, where Akanji, as an example, doesn't need to stop running. He assumes Rashford's going to be flagged offside, so he stops running and Bruno comes through. If you're going to go back to the old rule, which everyone's been asking for since Rashford's goal, that Everton goal doesn't stand. If this weekend Arsenal are playing Man United and the ball's crossed into the box and Varane clears it, but the clearance isn't very good and it falls to Odegaard on the edge of the box and he buries it in the top corner, but then you go back on VAR and you had a fullback tying his shoelaces when the original cross was played in by the corner flag, who had no involvement in play, the goal will be disallowed for offside. They brought this rule in to stop, to actually allow more goals in football to take place, especially from the second and the third phase of play. I agree that it's a bad rule when these little anomalies happen, but what happened there with Varane, that happens every week. The amount of times your defender will clear a ball from an offside player getting it, if they pick up and recycle it quickly, they can score. But for me, that's every bit as offside as Rashford's, because you're still making players, you're making the defender play you onside because he isn't 100% sure if you are or are not. But if Varane lets that ball fall through and Cody gets it and scores and he's actually onside, Varane looks like a dickhead. And that's for me what Akanji looks like. He's the idiot here. Why'd you stop running? You know, that's
can't run through the player though.
But you can try, but you're not listening, Egal. If he keeps running full speed and tries to run around him and Rashford stops him, that's 100% offside under this rule. But he didn't impede the player. The player slows his run down.
The sure fact that he's there and he looks like he's approaching the ball, he's impeding with him.
But then, okay, but then again, that's not the law. Looking like
then
you might.
Stupid.
So watch this week. Yeah, but I get the law, but this is what I'm trying to explain to people. If we're talking about the law, was it implied, right? You'll see this in the next Arsenal game you'll play. There'll be a ball played to one of your strikers. He's offside. Your striker will be running towards the ball. The linesman only puts his flag up when he touches it. Because until he but if say this weekend against United, Nketiah's offside, he sprints towards the ball and it stops half a millimeter away, the flag will stay down. If Odegaard then runs from onside and gets it, he'll be onside. That's just I don't know. For me, listen, I totally get what people are saying. I think the rule is bad in these circumstances, but I don't think United were given a favor in this. It's just the rules. This comment here from Marcy says, Terry Saylor, Sanchez scored a similar goal against Chelsea in the FA Cup final when Giroud is in an offside position, faked a shot, Sanchez went to score. And again, that's true. I mean, literally, that's a massive example of that situation. Offside shouldn't be subjective.
Well, one thing people are doing now that because that rule is in play, we saw it a lot with Arsenal versus Liverpool, is that teams are just placing offside players, all over the place to confuse defenders. Klopp did that. I mean, Darwin Nunez was offside so much during our game, and then he would confuse our defenders, not really play the game, not really play the ball. And then it would drop in and somebody else would run through, but he was onside. It's a tactic that can be used. It is what it is. It's just a rule. It's one of those where we have so many of these in football. Obviously it's Manchester United, so all of us are going to be of course it's offside, but it's really just the rule and the way that the rule is written. Common sense would say that Rashford is interfering, but the way the rule is written, he's not.
Yeah, I mean, this says it here. Does Rashford not interfere with Ederson, anticipating him to shoot? Yeah, but again, there's no rule that says if the goalie thinks you're going to shoot and you don't, you're interfering with play. That's the goalie's decision. I get why you could interpret that as interfering with play, but that's
because that's what I said when I first started. For me, that's what I would have seen as the biggest impediment. Or Ederson didn't know that Rashford wasn't going to. It looked like Rashford was going to take the shot, so he kind of put Ederson off. And then obviously Bruno came in. It was smart play, and obviously Bruno was miles on side. But for me, the goalkeeper thought Rashford was going to shoot a few times, so he didn't see that Bruno was coming, and then it's a goal.
Absolutely. Andrew here says, on Terry's point, if Akanji stops running as he thought Rashford was offside, wouldn't that be interfering with play? No, because it's only interfering if Rashford physically stops him seeing or physically stops him running. If you just assume Rashford's offside, that's not Rashford stopping you. That's your own decision. I'm going to sound a bit like an old man here. It's about you taking accountability for your own actions and not palming them off onto other people. That's what it actually comes down to. Akanji made the mistake, not the linesman. This here from Andrew says United easily could be 6 points lower on the table. Stole the Martinelli goal and they stole 3 this weekend. That's not on United. That's on the referees. Maybe. But listen, I remember a couple of seasons ago against Sheffield United, they fouled our goalie and they scored from it. I didn't see anybody caring about that. So yeah, I'm also going to be shameless and say I don't care, aka Dave from Top Boy. Thank you very much for them super chats. On Man United, though, another win. United's form is looking very good at the moment, as you can see. 5 wins on the bounce in the Prem. Only the second time that's been done since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club a decade ago, and 9 wins on the bounce is a record since Fergie retired. Rashford, as we know, he just equaled Dennis Vilas's home goal scoring record of 9 home games on the bounce, which has stood since the late 1950s. He's in phenomenal form. Surely United now, where do you see United? Title contenders or like one of the favourites for the top 4? What are we saying?
Welcome to the title race. You guys are here. If City are in the title race, you're in the title race. Welcome. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's all about what United fans say, but really, as the gal said, you should be in the title race. There's no excuse as to why you're not. And I feel like you should start to put your pressure on your team, that you expect yourself to start to, if not obviously win the title, but start to push on to Arsenal and cause them some pressure. Because at the end of the day, as the gal said, you're at 1 point off City. If you beat Arsenal this weekend, you close the gap to what, 6 points. So you'll have a pretty good gap on them. There's no excuse as to why you can't put the pressure on. So you're in the title race now, Terry, man.
Look, I mean, I said it on my match reaction. I want us to be. If I got to speak to the players, I would say I want you to consider yourselves in a title race. I want to see how they react. I want to see what the pressure does. Does it create a diamond like Arsenal this season, or does it burst pipes like Tottenham? Like, what does it do to them in terms of that? In terms of that pressure, and I think it needs to be put upon them to see where they are. I think you can be in the title race without being the favourites, because we're definitely behind City and we're definitely behind Arsenal. But I'm just proud of the progression of the team. There's a lot of people, as you saw in the intro, Jermaine Pennant being one of the mouthpieces on Talk Sport, that that run of 8 games, as it were, meant nothing. They were disregarding how well we played against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, which has been a horrible place for us over the years. How we played against Tottenham, the fact that we've beaten Arsenal this year, that was all disregarded, which I thought was a little bit disrespectful by the media. So for United to show up the way they did against City and to come back from behind, I think lays down a marker. But this week's massive. With Crystal Palace Wednesday night, followed by Arsenal, we need to try and walk away with that with a minimum, 3 to 4 points for us to, I think, to mathematically maintain ourselves in this supposed title race. But if it goes well and you walk away with more points than that, which isn't inconceivable, the league just takes a whole new turn again. And I think we also, as United fans, need to wait and see what Weghorst is like for us, because most people aren't expecting very much, but you never know. You never know in football. We've all signed. It was only last year when Spurs signed Bentancur and Kulusevski. What the world of football laughed and said, "Are you buying some rejects from Juve? What are they going to do for you?" And look how good they've been, especially Kulusevski and Bentancur. Really, now Arsenal were laughed at for going after Odegaard. He was, he's a reject who nobody wanted. Why are you buying a relegation-ridden goalkeeper? How dare you waste £50 million on Ben White? So you never quite know how transfers are going to work out. Equally, he could be dog shit, and it could really fall apart for us. So yeah, look, it's interesting for Man United now. I think they're in a good space, playing well, and look, I think we'll definitely make the top 4 now. I will say that I think Man United will make the top 4. We're better than Tottenham. We're better than Liverpool. We're better than Chelsea. And look, Newcastle are a really good team as well. But there's everybody below us. We are better to much better than as it stands right now. And everybody else needs a dramatic improvement. And I think Spurs could be 8 points off the top 4 or 8 points off Man United by when we all go to sleep on Wednesday. So that's a long way to come back, especially with Tottenham's form, which I'm sure we're going to get onto later. This comment here from Michael says, love the show as always. It's like rewinding back 20 years with Arsenal and Man United competing. And this is hate. So obvious. Can't wait for the North London derby segment. So stay with us, Michael. That's certainly coming. I listen, Arsenal fans are definitely starting to pipe up a bit more about Man United at the minute. I'm seeing it all over my timeline. Whenever I tweet something positive about United, it's Arsenal fans responding. That's it. No one else. It's just Arsenal fans. Oh, by the way, all the Spurs trolls that were like coming for me 2 or 3 months ago, they don't tweet me at all anymore. None of them. They're all gone. they've all disappeared. They've probably boycotted me now. That's what's happened, I think. But there we go. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed. Quickly on Rashford. How good is he right now? What we saying?
Best winger in the league.
I agree. Yeah. Right now he is. He has to be.
He is.
Can't disagree.
I mean, I guess we can say it off of 1 month's form, but I mean, what makes you a great player is consistency. So we need to see that until the end of the season, because that's something that's plagued him throughout his whole career. Is Rashford has spells and then he disappears for many spells. So if he can keep this up till the end of the season, then 100% he's having a top year and he's going to be carrying Man United's top 4 himself. But let's see the consistency first.
But it was right now, though, isn't it? Terry said right now. Right now he is. I get that. It's something that you can hit any player with, because players go in and out of form. But right now he's up there. There's no doubt.
But then
he's not the best.
Does right now count as just the form? His past month form? Or
I would look at it as, you could look at it as a bit of both. He actually has been playing quite well for Man United this season. It just took him time for the goals and assists to come. But if you actually go back, no one was good in the first 2 games, granted. But since United have been on the rise, he's been a pivotal part of those teams. And he was kind of missing some good chances in games, but he was influential. And we've just seen, again, I would assume I've watched more Man United than all of you. His form's just got better and better. And in the last sort of 3 weeks before the World Cup, the goals and assists started to come. You saw that in the World Cup, and Southgate made a massive blunder against France, not starting Saka on the right and Rashford on the left. We're through to the next round of the World Cup, because the form has continued from Rashford, and no player in the world has scored more goals than him since the World Cup. So yeah, like right now, I think he's performing at a world-class level. But I agree with you, George. Like, this has got to be maintained. But what's really harsh on Rashford, he had that 1 year where he was injured and the club had problems where he had a bad year. The previous 2 seasons before that, he was pushing on 40 GA 2 seasons running as a 22 and 23-year-old. He had a bad year along with the whole club, and now he's back to that level. So if 3 out of 4 years you're in the top 3 performing left wingers in European football, in the big leagues I'm talking, that's world-class levels for me. But I agree, the consistency's got to remain. Definitely. What are you saying, EGAL? I saw you not like shaking your head when Patrick said best in the league right now.
He's performing like one of the best in the league. I'm not gonna lie. But when it comes down to it, he's literally Manchester United. Everything. He's your talisman. He's everything for you guys. Anything happens to him, your form dips with him. He's the antithesis of what you guys are doing right now. And it's not a knock on him. I'm not insulting Man United at all. I'm just showing how much he has grown this past year. And if you're saying this is who he is and this is who he can maintain to be, then you guys are gonna have a great season. And it's gonna be a lot of pressure on him for the rest of the season to maintain this level.
Yeah, look, I would say with Man United, don't discount what Casemiro has done to us. Don't discount Varane and his performances as an example. If you look at, the team isn't just the guy that's scoring you your goals or your chief creator. It's everybody around them. As an Arsenal fan, Odegaard has been amazing, best attacking midfielder in the league this year. But if he didn't have Partey and Xhaka behind him, would he perform as well? Maybe
Who's
not.
your talisman, though? Is it not Rashford?
Well, Rashford's our primary match winner. I would say Man United's talisman is Bruno Fernandes. He's our leader. He is massively important. The most influential player and the game changer so far this season for Man United has been Casemiro, because he controls our midfield. And we haven't been able to control a midfield since Paul Scholes and Michael Carrick were here together. And that was 10 years ago. So those 3 players, along with Varane and Lissandro, who has been briefly replaced by Luke Shaw, if I'd have said to you guys a week ago even, Luke Shaw is going to pocket at Haaland, you lot would have had me sectioned, definitely. I'd have been sectioned. Like, nobody, that's not even me like trying to big up my club. When Jess will tell you, on Saturday, the team lineups came out, and I was quite confident before the game. And then I saw him at centre back, and I went floppy, bruv. Like it was gone. Man needed Viagra. I was finished. I was finished. I was like, oh no. But he pocketed him. And it was that little header right at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw it. It came across. Haaland was at the back post and Shaw got to it before him. And I was like, yes, man, boobs. Yes. It was great.
Terry, I've got a question quickly.
What
do you think? What do you think's been the biggest change, like attacking wise, for Manchester United, and why Rashford is doing well? Because obviously, I don't watch United as much as I would do Liverpool or whatever, but he seems to have been revitalized. Is it just the new manager? Is he playing a different role? I know he's playing off the left and he's wanted to play down the center a couple of times, but what's been the biggest difference under Ten Hag, from your opinion?
I think first of all, it's the most important bit. There's structure in terms of the way the team plays. There is discipline. The team work hard. There is a shape that everybody can see, which is more important than all the fancy stuff everybody talks about. The tacticos write about every day on Twitter. The hard work's there, but that's been built upon the discipline and the culture that the managers very quickly created in that dressing room. And dropping Maguire as an example, dropping Rashford in the early part of the season because he was underperforming. Telling Rashford in the summer, I want you to stay. I think you're one of the best talents in the world, but you ain't getting a new deal until you get back to your form of 2 years ago. Then we can until then, we're not discussing a new contract. The fact that he got rid of Ronaldo the way he did, the fact that he's picking Luke Shaw over Maguire and it's working. There is a great feeling at the club at the moment, and it's been transformed very quickly. And then Rashford is feeling 100% fresh, and the manager's got his back. And you add all those things together, and Rashford's just performing at the level that I knew he was capable of. And I saw him do for the 2 years prior to that really poor season that he had. And look, I thought he was going to go off injured on Saturday, and I bet he got an injection at halftime, 100%. They'd have tested him. They'd have made sure there's nothing massively wrong, but he'd have taken an injection. And that element of Rashford is very, very key. But the team is just different now. The team's different, and the turnaround's been a lot quicker than I expected it to be. However, I want their feet firmly on the ground. I don't want them kind of getting ahead of themselves and getting giddy and getting overconfident and complacent, because that isn't right. But Rashford as an individual within this team should be so proud of himself, because this is what he's always been capable of. He's come through turmoil to get here. You know, the amount of abuse this man's taken, the most abused athlete in the world, second most behind Cristiano Ronaldo, 3 years running up until, I haven't seen the right stats. Gimme Sport always put an article out there, and he's flying right now. So it's a multitude of things: fitness, the feel good factor, a proper system around him, and Ten Hag has fixed the culture at the club, and that was key. And I have to say, I don't like praising them, but I thank the Glazers and the board for allowing the manager to do that. He's the first manager since Fergie where they've given him complete control of that dressing room and allowed him to discipline and move things forward. So, yeah, for me, it's crazy. When I said most abused, I think I'm talking footballers, not overall athletes. If I said athletes, I apologize. But Rashford's right up there. The articles are there. Just Google it. You don't need to outside of that. But there we go.
Manchester derbies, that second half, I felt like that was one of the most controlled second halves you've had against Man City. I've seen you guys play against Man City several times and win under Oli, but I felt like that second half, even though the goal was controversial, you guys look like you guys were always going to win, in my opinion. And when we're talking about Haaland and Man City, this is what we've been talking about when we say they're not the same old City. They've not been consistently the same team. You guys were set up well. They were doing the same passes, the recycling of passes, but it seemed like they had no cutting edge. They had no idea. And I'm going to give credit to Manchester United setting up defensively solidly. But at the same time, you have to look at Manchester City and say they don't have the same solutions that they usually had. They don't have the same problem solvers that they usually had. And Haaland wasn't getting as involved. You could say that the change in personnel, they might have made a lot of changes in personnel and they lack some leadership. And even their own players are now calling it out. Pep Guardiola has called it out. Gundogan after the game called it out. And it's just, I think we have to take what we've seen from Man City so far this season and say they're not the same team. That, you know what, maybe they can go on a big run. But we're 20 games in almost, and the run hasn't come yet. And people are saying this team is just going to go magically on a 15-game run. You have to see what you're saying and say the evidence is not there for that.
I mean, I agree with you, Egal. City don't look right. What are we putting that down to, though? I mean, or is it a multitude of things?
It's a personnel change, Terry. The leaders are a lot of the older players and leaders. For example, Fernandinho's gone, even though he wasn't playing as much. He was a massive leader. You have Raheem Sterling and some of these guys going, and you have younger players coming in. Like you have Haaland, who's probably one of the most hungriest players in the whole team, right? But the midfield, Bernardo Silva doesn't look as hungry. Kevin De Bruyne doesn't look like himself. Gundogan is old, and realistically, I'm not making fun of him. He's a quality player, but he cannot sustain the level of game time that he needs to play because he has a back issue. So, and then you go to their defense. Their defense has not been as solid. What are you going to do? The whole team is looking shaky.
I get that. I mean, they haven't looked great. This here from Thanos is a City fan, says, I remember Liverpool had a 7-point lead. Could have went 10 points if they beat us and we won the league. We are at our best. Sorry, we at our best, no one is better. When you're at your best, no one is better. But the question is to you, Thanos. Sorry, go on, Jess. You go.
No, I was just gonna say nobody is debating that. You're just not at your best now. You know, like you can't actually be looking at it's no shade. Like when City is good, everybody gives them their flowers. We talk about how great they are, how they suffocate teams with their possession, how they look unbeatable, how they look unfazed. But you're not that right now. And so that's not what's being debated. It's just not. Maybe you guys can kick on back to that best version of yourselves, but time is a ticking, you know, and what I saw against Manchester United was definitely a long way away from the best City that I've seen. I'm sure JJ can attest to that because he's had to see that and really pay attention to it, you know, since Liverpool has been really fighting.
They're miles away. I think especially with Haaland coming in, great striker, but they're not as fluid as a team. So they don't draw out the defenders. They struggle to kind of just to keep the ball in the same way because Haaland's on the last man, and a lot of the time he's outside the game. Now, a question was posed, which was quite interesting, was I think it was by Gary Neville saying, "Oh, are City not feeding Haaland enough? Is Haaland not getting involved in the game enough for how City want to play?" And it's probably a bit of both because they're not just going to go and play a long ball in behind Haaland. Haaland makes a lot of runs similar to Darwin Núñez. He doesn't get the passes though. He doesn't get the passes because they want to go and play their pattern, as Egal was saying. So, look, it will be interesting. I think when it clicks with City, though, I think they'll just be dangerous. You saw it earlier on in the season when everything was rosy. They can score goals for fun, but especially when their midfield isn't like clicking, Haaland needs to do more in terms of getting on the ball, holding up the play, and trying to get involved in the kind of build-up, not only just being there for the goals and for the tapping, in my opinion.
Like I think
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think Egal like really did hit on like an important point though. Like there's the tactical part of it and them not playing to Haaland's strengths and them trying to get used to new players and things like that. But are these players hungry enough to go again? And I feel like that's what I'm questioning more than anything. You know, do they have the same mentality? Because it's not just about, you know, like I feel like, and I was talking to Terry about this the other day, even if you're not physically up for it, if mentally you're up for the fight, you can push yourself a little bit further. But I do think there's some aging players in that team that maybe aren't physically 110% up to scratch. And then mentally, are they ready to push? And I'm not sure that they are. So it's like, it's both. And I think even Gundogan said, like, they just aren't there mentally. And that is most important. If you're not there mentally, it doesn't matter what kind of runs Haaland's making, you know?
Yeah, I agree. When we watched, I watched the tactical analysis for, I think it was on one of the match of the days, and they were showing all the runs that Haaland was making where the ball should be fed through to him. And I thought they were quite simple passes, and they didn't even attempt them. And it's because they don't play that direct. And sometimes it's horses for courses sometimes. And I don't think Haaland's the problem. I think the City system is the problem. But we all know about Pep. He's the same as Klopp. He plays one way, and he won't. Now, this is the man that shouts at his players for taking long shots because only 8% go in. So it's a case of keep possession and work it into the box. You've got more chance. So, yeah, I think it's a number of things. And listen, I hope it goes wrong with Haaland being there, the amount of goals he scores. I hope it goes wrong. No one wants it to work out with him because, you don't want him around. You don't want him adjusting and getting even more out of him because they'll be almost unstoppable. Stig here says City are not as dynamic anymore since selling Jesus and Zinchenko. The balance of the team is off. By the way, Jess, your camera keeps freezing. I'm not too sure as to why.
I can go out and come back in.
Yeah, that might make sense. Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. All right, see you in a second. Some more super chats here I want to go to. Should we be scared of Manchester United? I would say scared is the wrong word, but respectful. I think one thing I'll talk about a little bit more about Arsenal later, but if you go into this game thinking there's no way you can beat us, you could find it, you could come a cropper, as it were. Oh, sorry, already done that one there. Thank you. Terry, at no point has Rashford ever had over 30 GA across all comps. Just thought you'd want to know, seeing as you usually only deal in facts. Bro, please don't make me go on to transfer market and James, just go on to. I hate when people make me do this to them. I'm going to have to share it on the screen now. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to cancel the Football Terrace. Now, I'm going to delete the channel live on air if I'm wrong. But do you want to know why I know I'm not wrong? Do you want to know why I know I'm not wrong? Because I literally was looking at this about 2 hours ago. So in the 2021 season, I'm going to scroll to this now. Let me just refresh this because this is this season. It said 16-6. I'm like, that's too low. I swear it was more than that. Waiting for it to load on my screen on Transfer Market. They're really good because where they store all their stuff. Waiting for it to load. Sorry, people. So in the 2021 season, with 21 goals and 15 assists, is that over 30?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, I've already disproved you, my bro. And the season before that, in the 1920 season, before that, waiting for it to load again. It's a little bit slow, their website, but we will get there in the end. And you can all check this out yourself. I didn't make the website up. I didn't create it. It's not like a weird thing. I think he got even more than that. So he got 36 a couple of years ago. And it's scrolling again. And by the way, that was 6 goals in 6 Champions League games as well, by the way. The season before that, he got to 22 goals and 12 assists, so 34. So yeah, he's done it twice. He's tracking that way. Yes, I don't know where you got that from, my bro, but you are mistaken. Is enough respect being put to Newcastle, the fact that they're in a title race too? Oh, Jason, you skipped the FA Cup goals. Yeah, you skipped the FA Cup goals. Also, yeah, okay, fair enough. They definitely count FA Cup goals, I think. But thank you, Jason. I appreciate you saying that. I think Newcastle are getting respect. It's just a case of they've not been part of the top 6 before, so nobody's really like.
I don't think it's even just that, Terry, though. They've got 8 draws this season. I feel like they've shown that although they've been very good, they don't always get over the line. They've shown a few leaks, and 8 draws, no team win the league or even in the title race is going to get double-digit draws. It's just not sustainable for a title race.
No, I hear you on that. Here says, if you think that goal was, I think if that goal was at the Etihad, they would have let it stand. Hence, it happened with Thierry Henry and Vieira. Henry kept his hand up to say he's not involved. That's how they decided, in my opinion. Listen, City fans can't moan. They scored a goal that was 40 yards offside a couple of seasons ago. So they had a penalty they should have conceded last year against Everton, as an example. So no one has any room to kind of complain. We all get good decisions, we all get bad decisions, but there we go. Moving on to a different subject. We're going to wait for David to arrive before we talk Mudryk. I do want to talk Liverpool. I want to talk Liverpool why we got JJ, because bruv, you guys got an absolute, it's not even a spanking, but break this down. I don't know if you guys are all aware. They got beat 3-0, as we all know. But Brighton had 14 attempts to their 6 and had 61% of the ball as well. Like, they got annihilated. And Danny Welbeck's goal was Gazaresque. Like, ridiculous. Trossard, sorry. Trossard weren't even there, right? And Solly March. Talk to me, JJ, because that was a beating. It was a beating.
You missed out that Brighton had 69% possession in the first half. That was, I want to say, the worst performance I've seen from Liverpool under Klopp. Like someone backed me up. It was terrible. I was watching that game. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. McAllister, Mitoma, just the link up. They were cutting us open. The team devoid of ideas. Thiago with no legs. Henderson with this hoof ball. First time that's long balls over the top. It was embarrassing. But I was fuming, but not necessarily at the result, just because the kind of "I told you so" feeling. It was that I've said Klopp tactically is not changing anything. He's not adapting. He's not looking at the players he's got and saying, you know what, let me change the way we're set up in order to go and not concede as many big chances. We spoke, and before the Brentford game, he had conceded 51. Sorry, after the Brentford game, it was 51 clear-cut chances. That's double more than anyone else in the top four. The same thing's happening again. It was just horrible. And yes, Van Dijk wasn't there. Yes, we've got some injuries in the forward line, but we just signed Cody Gakpo, and that was supposed to be, as Pep Linders has spoken about, the missing link, and I've spoken about before. I don't know what to say anymore. The manager's not going to change how he's going to play. It don't look like we're signing anyone, considering Klopp's come out in the press conference saying that that's not the solution. You just have to firm it. You just have to firm it and hope. I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm devoid. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's shocking.
The thing is, him saying, I get that FSG get a lot of stick, but Klopp saying he doesn't, like, buying someone doesn't, like Jude Bellingham wouldn't improve you. You know, I'm not saying he's available now, but there's so many midfielders that are available that could do you a job. Like, it must be annoying hearing your manager say that, especially with how much respect you have for him.
It's shocking. It's shocking. You're talking about a manager like, you've got people saying, look, trust in Klopp, and you're talking about a manager that has brought like the best moments I've had as a Liverpool fan, like by far. But you're looking at him and he's becoming the villain. He's becoming the villain now. I look at him, he changed us from doubters to believers. He's now changing us from believers to doubters. I doubt Klopp. I doubt the management. I doubt the board. I don't doubt Klopp's ability as a top manager, but I doubt his ability to recover from this. He's apologizing now. I mean, it's looking, it's shocking. It's shocking. And sorry, the teams that we've had and we've put out against Brighton and that we put up against Wolves the other day in the FA Cup, they should be beating those teams. Like, they just should. Man for man, are probably better all over the park. I don't know.
Let me ask you this: are you there yet? Are you there? Are you at Klopp?
Oh, no, I'm out. I've been there. You don't have to bait me into that. I've been out. It's done.
When was this? When did you? What was the final straw?
For me, it was Leeds. When I was like, I wanted to see a change from Klopp tactically, and it wasn't happening. And since then, it's just been building more and more and more. Because, as I said, if Klopp went to a back five or three at the back, and then we still lost there, or if you went and dropped some big players, like Fabinho just said, you know, you're fit, but you're not playing because you're not playing good enough. Drop Salah because he's not really doing anything. I'd respect that, because I'd be like, you know what, you're trying to do something. You're searching for solutions. This guy is just running it back. He's just reloading it, hoping. It's insanity at this point. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect with this man.
I feel like the ambition from your players to your owners selling the club to Klopp has been sucked out of them. Them being so close to winning everything last year. This year going into it, you just look at the team, losing Mane, changing up the system, trying to bring in Darwin Núñez. So many different things culminating to this bad season.
Hear me?
In addition to injuries.
Yeah, we can hear you, JJ.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jerry. You just can't see us, I guess.
I'm going to mute his mic because he's talking to himself. He jumped out of it. Yeah. No, they are in trouble. And I put the form up on the screen. So this is from when they first played Brighton until now. That's 5 defeats and a draw. They've had some wins in there as well, some good wins. You know, beating City as an example, beating Tottenham. The Villa result was particularly good, but they've been vulnerable in the vast majority of these games, Liverpool. And as you say, nothing's changed. Like, Jess, do you think time is running out for Klopp, or do you feel as if he'll just be there no matter what happens?
I mean, it depends on what the new owners want. I think that's an element that people aren't really talking about, is when they get a new owner, which should be soon, the owner might say, you know what, I'm gonna bankroll you. You know, I'm gonna get you new players, younger players, fresher players, get Klopp all the players that he probably acted like he didn't want, you know, and bring them in. I don't know. Because I mean, it's also the aspect of like who are Liverpool gonna bring in? Who do they see as a successor? That kind of stuff. So I think it depends on the new owners more than anything, to be honest.
Are you calling Klopp a yes man?
Yeah, I think he is. To a certain extent, he is. Because he's towing the party line. You either in two camps. You either think that he's covering for FSG and he's making it look like it's not an FSG and he's trying to cover their backs, or he's in agreement with them. Either way, you're supporting something that's negative for the club. I'm looking at what Liverpool. I'm looking at the look. Even if we were to get new owners, let's be honest. Klopp has come out and even today in the presser said that he doesn't believe in being ruthless with players. He says that he doesn't want to be the type of manager to look at a player after everything he's brought and all the work he's done at a club and be like, get out of my club. Other clubs can do that, but Liverpool won't. He's come out and criticised. I mean, there's obviously rumours of Qatari ownership being interested in purchasing Liverpool. He's come out and criticised the Qatar World Cup, that society, sports washing, all this kind of money from kind of, I mean, the Middle East and stuff. How is he going to be able to come back and then spend the money, especially with an ownership that are going to be ruthless?
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you.
They're going to be expecting results instantly.
But Jurgen Klopp will come back from that because Jurgen Klopp, like most people in his business, he's a hypocrite. He'll spend it. Like he once upon a time said he'd never spend silly money on a player and then drop £70 million on Darwin Núñez. By the way, having already spent world record fees at the time on a centre back and a goalkeeper, like Jurgen Klopp. And no, I'm not digging you out, but like a lot of Liverpool fans do this whole "we're Liverpool Football Club, we're different from everybody else." It's why I called them out the other day when obviously Wolves should have gone through in the FA Cup, and it was like, if you really were a different club and you weren't like everybody else, you'd forfeit your position. But you're like the goddamn rest of us. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the problem with Klopp. He always tries to pretend like what they're doing is extra special and it's different from everybody else. Not different in their own way and special to us Liverpool supporters. You're all the same and we're very different. And this is when he comes unstuck. And for me, I don't know what do Patrick and George think on this. Like, do you think the Liverpool dressing room needs a different voice?
Yes. Yeah, I think he's been there too. It's crazy for me to say it because he's like JJ said, he's brought them so much success and he's been amazing. But you know, I think the time is done now. I think unless he's going to change it up and reinvent himself, which I can't see him doing, then it is time to go. Do you know what I mean? And that club looks shot to pieces. Salah doesn't look like himself. I don't see any creativity. I still like Trent. I still think Trent's a fantastic player, but he's not utilising him in the right way. Alisson even is not the same keeper anymore. There's just a lot of players that are out of form. And when so many players are out of form and not performing, there's a reason for it. You got to look at it and say, what's actually going wrong? Why is everyone lackluster and not to the best of their abilities? One or two players you can understand, but not the whole team. And then the new players coming in, no one's settled and risen to the levels. They're making bad choices. If Klopp's co-signing these signings, then he obviously he doesn't have the eye for talent that he once had. I don't know. There's a lot going on there, And, you know, we would have all thought Liverpool would be right up there again this season, and they're well off it. I don't know. There's so much to unpack. But, yeah, I mean, look, just look at it this way, Terry. Look, when you look at Eddie Howe, and I was going to say this in the Conte Tottenham chat, but I use it for Klopp as well. When you look at Eddie Howe at Newcastle, when you look at the new Brighton manager, when you look at Marco Silva at Fulham, these are all managers that are rated way lower than Klopp on the totem pole and in world football rankings, and they're all getting a much better tune out of their players. So when you look at it like that, you know,
you're spot on, Patty. You're spot on. It was only this time last year that Liverpool fans would tell you they had the best goalie in the world, best right back in the world, best centre back in the world, best left back in the world, best DM in the world, best passing midfielder in the world in Thiago, best right winger in Salah.
Even just this last year, 6 months ago, Terry.
Yeah, exactly. And no, they haven't claimed for a while they've got the best striker. But when they signed Darwin, to that. Yes, they've gone and lost Mane. And we know Diaz is out and he was dynamite. But they have still got a core group of players that Liverpool fans say 6 or 7 are the best 6 or 7 in the world. The way their ass is handed to them by much lesser teams, it is an embarrassment. Injuries aren't an excuse. An investment is an excuse for not winning the league, but being completely out of the top 4 race as it stands right now in terms of points and form, they're going to get battered like one of Ian Bill's codfishes by Real Madrid in the Champions League. And my prediction is they're getting knocked out of the FA Cup tomorrow night by Wolves as well. I just can't see, for love nor money, how they win that game. And to go from nearly completing a quad to this, it can't just be that the players are all bad and they've all aged by 10 years in 6 months. I think it's the players just thinking, I love Klopp, I respect him, but it's been 7 years of this heavy metal, 100 miles an hour football. I'm just tired. You bring in a new manager tomorrow, within 2 or 3 games, a good quality manager, within 2 or 3 games, they are back to hurting teams and being dangerous. A change is as good as a rest. And I think, yes, FSG is selling, but I think Klopp needs to go. And the thing is this, right? 7 years at a club in the old days was long term. This notion of, I get what they say, you just want a great manager to leave Liverpool. It's not about wanting a great manager to leave Liverpool. I'm being honest. I don't think Klopp can get you back to where he had you before. I just think the players have said thank you, but we don't want to do this anymore. That's how I feel. I don't know about you.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's run its course. Like you said, I feel like nowadays a manager to be at a club for 7 years is a very long time. Like we generally don't see it that often, and he hasn't changed his football. He's played the exact same way. It's not that teams are finding them out. Everyone's always known how Liverpool played. They're just not playing it to the same level that they used to play it at. And like you said, these players, I just feel like they're not playing for the manager anymore. They just need that change. I mean, when you're in the same place for so long, you get complacent. You get used to the how they run. They're just used to playing this certain way, and it's just not working for them at the moment. And I feel like they need some drastic change. They need a new manager to come in. Like you said, I reckon within a short amount of time, that new manager will give them a massive boost. And the players will feel up for it again. You'd see a new lease of life from a lot of these players, but where they've been doing the exact same thing, playing this exact same way for the past 7 years, similar to when Pochettino left Tottenham, the players just stopped playing for him. It wasn't that, obviously we got to the best that we could, and then they just stopped playing for him. And that's what I feel like right now, whether the players like Klopp or not, he just can't do anything to change what they're at right now, and they need a new manager. With a new owners, new manager, I feel like the team can revitalize itself very quickly because, as you said, they have a lot of world-class players and a lot of good talent there.
But guess what? Their ownership have no incentive in sacking Klopp before and the new ownership would have to do that. Based on what we've seen, Klopp has 2 years remaining on his contract that he just renewed. If FSG aren't going to sack him during this period, and he doesn't have any pressure on him during this period, what makes you think they're going to sack him before they leave? It's going to have to be the new ownership. So realistically, the ownership change is going to happen before Klopp leaves. And right now, Klopp is steering this ship into an iceberg. And this season, they don't really care about it because they're looking in the future. And I'm already hearing articles about Liverpool saying they're not worried about Champions League because following year, they're going to look at the coefficient, and no matter what, they're thinking they're going to be in it.
Well, if it's on coefficient, Liverpool having 5 titles, they most definitely could be. But Liverpool, pride's at stake here. Not just Champions League position, the money, pride. Like, they look awful. And listen, new owners are not a guarantee, of being brilliant. We know that, and we've seen that in the Premier League. And, Spurs have been reported that they might be on the market. I see that in the Mail. United, there was a report this morning from the Liverpool Echo that no one's taken that serious of an interest in Liverpool yet, because a lot of the investors are more interested in buying Man United, and they're going to fight for that first, and then maybe Liverpool. So who knows when these takeovers will go through? And again, that was a Liverpool newspaper, not a United one. Here, this says, does anyone else think that Liverpool and Chelsea's struggles are similar this season, considering how far both teams went in all competitions last year?
The only similarity between the two teams,
it's not similar.
The only similarity between the two teams, you can't trust either of them to pick up points.
And I don't think
come
it's...
on. A gal's on this high horse right now.
No, that's the reality. What is high horse about that? Can anybody tell me right now you trust Liverpool versus Newcastle versus Brighton versus Crystal Palace? Do you trust Chelsea versus either of those teams?
But I mean, it's not even that. Like, Liverpool's issues are they let it get stale. They let it get stale. It's probably too many players that have been there for too long. They haven't invested. Chelsea, they have invested. They spent lots of money on lots of players, but they have a new ownership, new manager, and new vibe. So I think it's completely different. It just happened at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Malik here says it's okay, Liverpool fans. At least you hijacked Gakpo from Man United. Yeah, that's true. Off topic, the Brighton coach is phenomenal, but remember he was supposed to be the Everton manager, but the fans rejected it and wanted Frank Lampard.
Dang.
Listen, by the way, what those Everton fans have been doing up there is like death threats to board members and that. Like,
allegedly, someone got put in a headlock as well.
Yeah.
Put in a headlock after the game.
It's gone mad. Do you know the maddest bit is? None of that does anything. Just pull your money away and stop giving them your money. Like, you know, I keep saying about my club, just stop giving them your money and they will do exactly as you ask. You give them their money, they go, oh, yeah, we'll listen to you. And they walk away. Honestly, football fans sometimes are so thick. It is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But there we go. We are going to move on. I don't know where David is. He's meant to be here by now. On the list. Chelsea won. I don't think there's too much to delve into in terms of Chelsea winning the game. They played okay. Palace had chances too. They got the victory. So well done to Chelsea. But I want to talk more about their transfers because they kind of pulled João Felix out their backside a week ago against the odds, really, that weren't expected. And then Saturday afternoon, they pull off probably the most sensational hijack I've ever seen in terms of I've seen the way Arsenal fans have been tweeting about Fabrizio, so even some towards like Ornstein and others, because they all over Friday night and Saturday morning were sort of like Arsenal's third bid. All parties are confident. The player has agreed. It looks like it's going to get done now. I don't know. David's here to join us now as well, which is great. I don't know about you lot. I was kind of sitting there. I'm going to admit this. I did a Fabrizio. I made an Arsenal signed Mudryk video ready to release it in case I was driving when it came out or something. I was that sure based on those journalists. And then Chelsea flew to the training camp in Turkey and just took him home with them. They went there, picked him up, put him on a plane, and they bought him. It was a...
Terry, can I ask you a question? You know, from your understanding, because obviously you know quite a lot of, in the know journalists, was this something that literally blindsided Arsenal, or
no.
were Chelsea always in for him, or did it literally happen as everyone said it did?
Chelsea maybe 2 weeks ago now, I might be a bit off with the dates, told Shakhtar they wanted him. The player at that point was like, I want Arsenal. But they met with Shakhtar before the Man City Chelsea game a week and a half ago on the Tuesday. They met with the Shakhtar president and basically said we will outbid whatever Arsenal were going to pay. That led to Arsenal's second bid being rejected. But then Chelsea just basically were watching it from the side and were it was always, we will swoop in if Arsenal can't get a deal done. But I still think they changed again. That's my view on it. I don't care what the journalists say per se. It was almost, they did what they did with João Felix in the end, where it was like, right, we'll just pay the massive 100 million asking price. And it ended up giving the kid like £100,000 a week and an 8-year contract.
Yeah, that's mad. I've never heard.
They ended up making him an offer that was above and beyond anything they said before. And I know what they're doing, the 8-year contract so they can spread the cost of the transfer for 8 years to not impact FFP. But it's a huge deal. But I want to get EGAL's take on this first, because obviously you came out very famously last week and said that Chelsea were bluffing. There's no way they want him and the player wouldn't go there, and he did. How do you feel about missing out on Mudryk in this way?
You missed out the final statement that I said. We walk away. And we walk away.
But I don't have a chance to walk away.
Okay, but I don't want any political nonsense from you.
No, this is not political, Terry.
Okay, stop. Let me talk. Let me talk. I want to know your personal feelings on not getting Mudryk and him being at Chelsea.
Of course, I'm upset in the fact that we didn't get the target. But at the end of the day, we weren't going to pay and be held to ransom by any club or any player. That's the reality. As a football club, we've made this decision since 2019, since Pepe. We've been running differently, and when we have a bidding war or we have a situation where somebody else comes out and is trying to hold us to ransom or do something like that, we walk away, and that's what we did. We did that with Buendia. We did that with James Maddison. We did that with other players in the past, and we've ended up with Martin Odegaard, which was the better player. So guess what? They got themselves a quality player. I don't know how he's going to fit in the Chelsea system. In the short to immediate term, he could struggle based on the fact that he would have been a better fit at Arsenal. But in the long term, 8 years, he has a long time to be worth the money that they paid for. And let's see how he does at Chelsea. I wish them nothing but the worst.
and I hear that. But you agree completely with Arsenal's not paying the asking price and not paying him that money.
110%. And guys, don't get too emotionally attached to a player. If somebody comes and they try to offer 95 million euros, and then somebody else comes in and takes it last minute, it is what it is. You tried your best. You put a reasonable bid, a reasonable amount of money, and it is what it is. And you know what? I'm not going to get too emotionally attached to transfer signings, because guess what? These things happen and it's fair. We've seen it before. We'll see it again.
Egal, you know, like I've seen loads of Arsenal fans on Twitter losing their mind because there's like, what was, you know, Eddie doing, flying back and forth. What's your thoughts on that? Because, you know, you guys were meant to be so close to wrapping it up. Everyone was praising Eddie for flying back and forth, being in constant contact and control of the situation, to then get gazumped at the last hurdle. And then they're saying he doesn't know what he's doing. This has happened time and time again. Do you still trust him? Or
This is not on Edu. This is not on Edu for me. Simply put, they put down 95 million euros. You put down 95 million euros, and someone says, "Oh, we have Chelsea's number. As soon as Arsenal put their final bid in, we're gonna go tell Chelsea, and they're gonna match it." They're trying to hold you for ransom. Realistically, Arsenal seen the play. They're like, you know what, Chelsea, if you really want him, take him. And at that moment in time, I fully agree with it. I back them fully on this decision. And I think if we go and get another replacement, it's great. If we now don't go and get another replacement to fill in that squad problem, then it's going to be an issue. But at this moment in time, losing out on that player, it's not an issue.
I agree with you on that part. Like, if we don't get anybody else, then it's a failure. We're not ambitious. But I do find it weird that people were like, all rivals were saying, I cannot believe they're about to spend 90-something million on a player that has 30 appearances and all this kind of stuff. And then once we get gazumped, then it's like, oh, you guys aren't ambitious. You're not a big club. You're not this and that. We're only not ambitious if we don't go and get a second, third choice or whatever, bring them in and they're successful. And that's really what Arsenal have done. They have a good track record of that. I know that's not what rivals want to hear. They don't want to hear that most of the second choices that we've gotten have actually done really well for us because our recruitment is very good. You just want to hear that we're terrible and this and that. If we go through January and we don't bring anybody, it's a failure. If we do get somebody and they work out for us, then it is what it is. But
are you not worried? Because what I've been seeing a lot of the reports is Arsenal briefing already about summer. A lot of the stuff is about what we're going to be doing in the summer. Don't you seem like Arsenal have already passed the opportunity that if we don't get Mudryk, like you guys said, you're only going to go for players that the manager wants. It doesn't seem like there's any other target out there right now that Arteta is so keen on. So when you don't go,
just quickly, they have put a £12 million bid in for Trossard. Was
that not Spurs?
That was Spurs.
We put a 12 million.
Sorry. That was Tottenham. Sorry, my brain messed up then. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry.
I was just going to respond by saying this: when we were linked to Emerson, we didn't know about Tomiyasu. When we were linked to Madison, we knew Odegaard was in the background, but we didn't think he was the main target. When we were linked to other players in the past, like Onana, Ramsdale wasn't even in the picture. When we were linked to all these other targets that we've had in the past, so I'm not surprised. The Arsenal Football Club have their A targets, B targets, and C targets. And realistically, you're not going to go as hard for your secondary or third targets in the January window. You might go and fill a position in another area. I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal went big on a midfielder in the January and tried to get Declan Rice instead of going for another winger.
They've already said that's the summer window.
But yeah, Declan. I mean, the Declan Rice one's interesting to me. I think if Declan Rice was available now, you'd do it. But it's all about the. I mean, they're talking £70 million for him now. It's a lot cheaper than everybody expected. But yeah, Gary Jacobs has said that Arsenal will have made Declan Rice their top summer target and are growing in confidence that they can beat Chelsea to his signature. Arsenal believe that their status as a Premier League leader puts them in a strong position. And just mad. Some Chelsea fans will be happy about that because there are a lot of Chelsea fans who don't want Declan Rice. I know there's some gooners. I know, Jess, I know you're not particularly sold on Declan Rice as a player. Well, I'm at the other end of the spectrum. There's talk that Man United might be selling McTominay this month. I don't think we've got a chance of getting Declan Rice right now, but give me that young man in my midfield next to Casemiro. And I think Declan Rice is so goddamn good. He just needs to move into a team with a better coach and be surrounded by better players. And I think there's a sensational player in Declan Rice. You know, we only see him play for David Moyes and Southgate, and look how good he is for them. Imagine him with a progressive coach who develops players. Yeah, if Arsenal get him, a midfield three, and you aren't using midfield three per se, but your main four midfielders being Declan Rice, Partey, Xhaka, and Odegaard, that is scary.
Yeah,
That's
think of
scary.
I mean,
of
it
Declan
could be.
Rice.
I have two thoughts on this. It could be like briefing, the media so that, there could be a distraction and, and maybe they won't bring in anybody and they're looking towards the summer. Arsenal are very set on their long-term project, whether you like it or not. Or it could be, Declan Rice's people briefing to get other people interested. You don't really know. But in terms of the winger, that has to come in regardless of if we're going to get Declan Rice or not. So this news, like, it doesn't really matter. We need an attacker,
Yeah, I get that. David, from your point of view, when you saw that news on Saturday night, and I laugh, I'll be honest with you, I'm not laughing at Arsenal. I love transfers as an isolated, I look at transfers as like the Vatican. They're not part of like Rome. They're not part of Italy. Like it's its own little world. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And I buzz off those things. Even when my team gets hijacked sometimes, I still get a weird little buzz. I'm like, oh, this is mad. But what do you make of it as a Chelsea fan that you've just dropped 100 million on an 8.5-year contract for Mudryk?
I'm not too impressed, to be honest. One, I haven't done any scouting on this player at all, so I've got no idea what he's like. I watched one game against Celtic, and as I said yesterday, if you don't perform against Celtic, I'd be incredibly worried because Celtic are League One. But 100 million to me doesn't make sense right now because my squad has like 8 holes in it. I need a left back. I need a midfielder. I need a backup right back. I need potentially another centre back. I need an actual first choice goalkeeper. There are so many holes in my squad where it's like, fill these in before you start dropping 100 million pounds on one person. And especially when the person you've signed didn't really want to come anyway. Like he was basically saying, I'm going to Arsenal. And we just threw loads of money at him. And then he was like, well, money's great, isn't it? And he just came to Chelsea. I mean, that's what we did with Willian, and Willian didn't turn out too bad. So
it's what we did with Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not a fan of I have so far I have not co-signed one big Bowley signing yet. All of the only transfers I like from Bowley are the young ones who are like 10, 20 mil. They're the only ones that I see making sense. The big ones,
it's crazy. It's crazy because like there's some reports today saying that Raheem Sterling could go this January.
Oh wow!
It shows you that they bought players to Tuchel, and then were like, "Shit, he ain't our manager anymore." And Graham Potter's saying, "Well, these guys just don't play my style of football, and they're going to need somebody else." So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I mean, I mean, Koulibaly and Cucurella, both of them, you just do not like. Somehow Cucurella is not a Graham Potter player, which I find very confusing. Koulibaly, Todd Bowley went in the summer. He went on Football Manager, looked up 5-star centre backs, and said sort by value, and found the cheapest one. And we end up with Koulibaly, even though the scout report said can't pass, can't defend, can't dribble, can't do anything.
Bro, now you're saying this. When I got onto you in the summer, you was
no. But again,
do you remember we had a big argument about Koulibaly, and you told me he's a world-class centre back.
My bad.
Him and Roy together.
In the words of filthy fellas, my bad. It's my bad.
Yeah,
I'll put my hands up.
enough,
However, you also back Lloris, and he's costing you games. You also need to say you need to say I'm my bad as well. You need to say I'm my bad as well. But yeah, like Badiashile yesterday when he played, that looks more like a signing that's lining up with what Potter needs because he was a lot better on the ball. Levi Colwill at Brighton right now as a left centre back is another option who looks very good and really performed well against Liverpool. So,
David, I've missed you, man. How you been? How's the rebuild?
I watched your show the other day where you were like, "I miss David," and I was like, "I was there watching." Yeah, I was wrong.
I seen you in the comments, David. I'm just gonna say this, man. You said
wrong.
our rebuild and your rebuild. I'll tell you
Will be
something.
different. I was wrong.
I'll tell you something. Your rebuild is the same as ours.
I was wrong.
At the beginning, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just signing a bunch of nobodies. At one point, we signed Granit Xhaka and Lucas Perez in the same window. What the hell was Lucas Perez ever going to do for us? We never had any idea.
Mate,
at the same time, I didn't think Bowley was going to sack
you
the
might get
Champions
some
League winning
players
manager.
that are going to last the time over a couple of years, but there's going to be a lot of these players in short term, you're going to say, you know what? Why'd we get Henrik Mkhitaryan? Why'd we get Socrates? Why'd we get Kolasinac for free? You're going to look at these players. You're going to say a couple years down the line, what are these guys doing in our squad? And then when you have a 15-man squad of players where you look at like 7 of them and you're like, they need to all go, but they're on long contracts. That's when you're going to be like, we messed up.
Yeah, that's the only way this deal goes wrong is if he's absolute dog poo. But then this is the thing with hindsight in the future. Again, everyone's laughing at Chelsea's rebuild. If this time next year they're flying high and looking amazing, this exact conversation will look crazy. If Mudryk goes on to be the best winger in the country for years, Arsenal not getting him will look potentially look stupid. It depends who you get instead. Man United missed out on Ronaldinho when no one really knew who he was.
It doesn't matter.
And one second. And a year later, we signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Some people would say they'd have preferred Ronaldinho. But that's the only way Arsenal come out of this looking good is if who they get instead works. That's it. It's as simple as that. It's okay missing out on players, but your next option's got to work. As far as I'm concerned, this comment here from Reggie says if we would have paid the 100K, it would have completely blown out of the water negotiations with Saka, Martinelli, and Saliba. Maybe, I mean, but those guys are good. I mean, Saka's got to be going on near 200 grand a week. He's got to be
250. I was hearing
250. He's got to go up to that big money now. So that wouldn't have made much of it. I mean, I think that all of them are going to go up much higher than 100K. But I hear you. Hammy here says bid apparently being readied for Vlahovic. Plus, I think we've dodged the bullet with Mudryk. Everyone forgot the documentary. We know what we are working, why we're working hard. What I will say about the Mudryk transfer is that Shakhtar Donetsk are donating a quarter of it, so 25 million pounds of it is going to support people in Ukraine that have been damaged by the war. So that was one of their reasons for wanting to push the price so high, because they're giving that money towards like victims of that, which is nice. Like obviously a nice gesture from them to do that. But there we go. Thank you for this super sticker. You didn't say anything, but thank you very much. Sorry, go on, mate. Go on.
I was going to say, based off what you just said, another thing is if Arsenal still go on to win the Premier League, who really has the last laugh? He's going to be giving us a guard of honor potentially at our ground.
Well, yeah, last laugh this season, but as we know, football is it's a bit like, I don't know. Man United got laughed at in the summer for signing Casemiro. Right now, everyone who laughed at that looks stupid. But equally, in 18 months, if he's dead and buried, can't run anymore, and we're back to 8th, then it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I think it's all up and down in that way. But yeah, there are talks of Vlahovic or Usherman to. Someone said that someone's super chatted. I've lost it. I can't find it now. That David Ornstein said Usherman or Vlahovic could be on their way to
either of them.
They didn't say what club though. I'm assuming they mean Chelsea. I mean,
Smeehan's on his way to winning the league. I don't think he's going anywhere at the moment.
If it is for Chelsea, I don't want either of them. I don't want forwards from Serie A.
This here says Bowley moving like I don't know who that is. Suge
Knight. Death row contracts. That's what.
Yeah, death row records.
Yeah, not my thing, bro. Liverpool, it has contributed to a raft of injury setbacks. And yeah, injuries aren't good enough. They're still better than half the teams that are beating them. Do you know what I mean? They got beat by Nottingham Forest before Nottingham Forest were on their turnaround. It's crazy. This is the tactical flaw of Pep's teams. Back to one from earlier, he said that because some people watch this delayed. He can't use an out-and-out number 9. I remember Ibrahimovic and David Villa complaining about it. That's the chink in the armor. Next conversation. Arsenal smashed Tottenham. North London derby chat. They smashed up Tottenham in their back garden. They go 8 points clear at the top. Talk to me. I want to go to Patrick first because Patrick, he was at the game yesterday and then his phone got turned off. And everything
I was active. I was on my phone.
No, I know you were, bro. How do you feel? The viewers have been waiting for this. How you feeling, bro? How you feeling about getting the pace in, being out of the title race? I mean, you said you were finishing 10 points above Arsenal this season.
Yeah, I got that one wrong. I never put us in the title race, so that one I can't. It's not on me. But you know what? First and foremost, well done to Arsenal. Like, you know, I'm not being disingenuous here. They were fantastic. I was watching the game, and if we take it back to the beginning, Conte putting 2 men in the midfield against probably the best trio in the league at the moment in terms of how they're performing, Odegaard, Xhaka, and Partey. We just got ran all over. We couldn't get near the ball. And this is when I said about this a couple of weeks ago, for me, the best managers also have to be ones that can manage on their feet, you know, make changes as the game's going on, be astute tactically and adapt to the game. And I could see it from where I'm sitting. You know, I'm not a football mastermind. I'm not a professional coach in any shape or form. And if I can see we're getting a man all over, how can't he see that? Someone that's paid 15 million and is considered one of the best managers in the world. They were running all over us. And don't get me wrong as well, they were so, like, in terms of the passing, it was so slick, so precise. They didn't really make any mistakes. And, you know, and when we got the ball, there's only 2 in midfield and we're giving it away. We're getting rushed and hounded and hampered. And so that was the first thing that I could see from where I was that was way off. And then, fuck me, Hugo Lloris yet again. How many times is this guy going to make a clanger and just... like, honestly, Terry, the thing is, I backed this guy. And, you know, for me, he was a top goalkeeper, one of the best in the world, fantastic shot stopper. For all his flaws in distribution, not being able to command his box on corners, you know, not being the most loudest, and you know, he's not a good, big goalkeeper to begin with, but his shot stopping abilities was always second to none. Now he's lost that, and he's just making silly mistakes. Even for the second goal, when Odegaard scored from, like, you know, the halfway line, no one closing down, fantastic shot by Odegaard, but there's no way he should have been uncontested. It was Hugo Lloris that put Doherty under pressure by releasing a bad ball, and then obviously Arsenal pressed. And but yeah, there's so many things. But in terms of Arsenal, fair play to them, man. Best team in the league comfortably now. They've pretty much passed every test. You know, we was like, oh, what happens when they play Man City? What happens when they play Tottenham away? What happens when they do this, that? They passed every test. I don't want to hear nothing, no chat from Arsenal fans now, no sitting on the fence. You lot need to go on and win the league now. You can't bottle it from this position. You can't bottle it from this position. You bottled 4th last year. You're, what, 8 points clear, 7 points clear of City, 13 or 14 points clear of us in 5th. You have to win it now. No excuses. I don't want to hear no excuses about depth, no excuses about missed out on transfer signings, no excuses, oh, this is a young team and we're not sure, and Arteta's. No, like, you have to win it now. And if you don't, it will be a travesty, considering how good you are, like your champions elect. All I see on Twitter, and people just keep messaging me this, that, and the third. Yeah, just go and win it now. That's it.
Patty, question. Do you think they'll win it?
I do. Unfortunately, I do. And again, it's such... I don't know what's going on, man. It's like I'm living in a nightmare, because the time that Arsenal... And don't get me wrong, Arsenal fantastic. They've grown into this. Like, they've done it actually the right way, if we're being honest. Like, Arteta was 8th and 8th. He got given time. He was allowed to make the changes that he wanted. Brought in players, like even Jess has said, like, some of them weren't his top transfer targets, but they were allowed to grow into the game. But also at the same time, I can't believe the decline of Man City and Liverpool. So it's like, it's just mad, because one team have progressed so much and all other teams have regressed. And I'm just hoping, for my sake, that United can do something, because City looks shot, Liverpool looks shot. So Arsenal are the best team in the league, and other teams have just imploded. So it's just crazy.
We will go on. I'll say we'll come back to Tottenham. I want to speak about Tottenham and Conte a bit later. We'll stay on Arsenal.
Yeah.
Go on, Jess, over to you.
No, the only thing I was gonna say is, like, I think we have to, like, end all this talk about excuse me, the way the league is, and this team is not good and this team is not good. You guys do realize that Manchester City and Liverpool have been dominant in a Premier League, or there hasn't been a strong Arsenal, Manchester United, and it was an okay Chelsea. So like, in every single league, there's like 2 or 3 teams that are really good and some fall off. This season it's Chelsea and Liverpool. So I don't want to hear all this, you know.
City have fallen off as well, though, because City don't usually lose games like that. And City aren't this bad at this moment in time. So they have fallen off.
Manchester City are not that bad right now. I mean, they're tracking to what they're
tracking. I wish I was Man City.
No, hold on. They're tracking to still mid-90s in points.
I don't know. I can't see
that. They may
like,
not be their sparkling best. They may not get a 99 points, but I get what people are trying to do. They're trying to make it seem like this league is a lot worse. It's really not. It's always.
It is.
No, but to be honest, no, you guys hold on really quick. Manchester United are also tracking to mid-90s points. Mid-90s points tracking. Manchester United, Newcastle, it's not that weak. Just because your teams are not good doesn't mean the league.
I'm sorry, but not many teams get mid-90s points, so no team's tracking to mid-90s. I'm not hearing that in the first place. Man City Man City only had 3 losses the whole of last season. At the moment, they already hit 3 losses.
There
So
you
they're
go.
already doing just as bad as they are for the whole of last season. We're not saying that City are horrible. We all know that City is still a very good team. They signed a very good player, and we all expected Haaland to push them on to be a better team.
So because
Unfortunately, it
Manchester
hasn't.
City aren't as good as they were last season, it's weaker. That's basically what you're
The Premier League's weaker. Well, generally, yeah, because we're looking
What
at the
about
whole of the Premier
Newcastle and
League.
Manchester United, who are
I
playing?
don't know if it's weaker. No, this is two
That
different
logic-
arguments,
the
Jess.
thing with that logic is this, though. I could make an argument, a very frivolous one. The only reason all of you man have been better than the only reason that all these teams have been winning the league in the last decade is because Man United fell off. If Man United hadn't fallen off, then we'd still be winning all the leagues. That's not how it works. Like, by that logic,
You're taking it too far back, though, Terry. We're just simply talking about from last our expectations from the start of the season going into the
I
season.
see what they're trying to do. I see what you guys are trying to do. It's not.
Can I just say something? Can I just finish?
Taking away from what Arsenal are doing.
People do this all the time, right? I keep seeing some Arsenal fans start to, oh, this is the hardest era of the Premier League ever. I'm like, no. 04 to 2013, that 9-year period, from the Invincible through to Fergie's last title, was the most difficult time in Premier League history because every year there was 4 teams capable in England of winning the Champions League. Every year, the English teams were looked at by our European counterparts as being good enough for that tournament. And at the start of the year, everybody was in for a shout to win that league in one way, shape, or form. Now, in the last 5, 6, 7, it's been 1 or 2 teams every year genuinely capable of winning the league. And I get your point that City aren't as good as they were last year. Liverpool and Chelsea's drop-off is massive. But I don't see how you can take that away from Arsenal because their current performance is the greatest in their club's history. And they're ahead of the vast majority of the title-winning teams after the first 18 games. They're pretty much on par with the last decade.
You know what? I didn't take any
Man United. If we were drawing and losing a bunch of games and we were still up on top, we've lost 1 game, you guys.
I know. And
Man United are better. Newcastle are better. Brighton are better. Brentford are better. All these teams, I'd say I think what you guys are saying is I'd say that the highest in terms of Liverpool and Man City, they've dropped in performance, but I'd say the actual medium level of the Premier League has increased. I'd argue.
To be fair, only people who've really dropped off based off actual standards that we're talking about from the beginning of the season is Chelsea and Liverpool. Even Tottenham, they're in and around probably the same points that they were last year. If you look at the points.
Correct. Yeah, we are.
So
that's what we're saying, though. Liverpool and Chelsea are 2 of those teams.
One second.
So now Manchester United and Newcastle are there.
My main point is to say this is a poor league or to say it's a poor season because Arsenal are currently doing what we're doing.
No one said it was a poor season.
You're basically discrediting Arsenal's Arsenal right now.
We didn't say that,
though. Manchester City have fallen off a cliff because they've gotten 3 losses already, and you're saying Newcastle and Manchester United's rise is basically because everyone else has also been bad.
No one said that. You've literally just took a whole different point and took it somewhere else. You simply said that Man City are not been as good as they were last season. And Liverpool and Chelsea. So no, let me finish the point so you can actually.
What is you've already said the point.
You guys are getting defensive. You're taking it somewhere else. We're simply acknowledging the fact that Man City have dropped in a level. You guys are taking advantage of that, and you're playing better than them right now. We can all acknowledge that. You're playing better. You're in a position you deserve because you've lost the least amount of games. No one's taking that away from you. But the league level, that top 4 teams, the teams that were in the top 4 last season, the big clubs, no one expected them to be this bad. And the level that they've dropped off in has been massive. And what is the point? Because I'll give you an example.
Man United won the league in 1994 with 92 points. A year later, Blackburn won it with about high 80s. Does that mean Blackburn, they're like slightly undeserving because United dropped off a little bit? Like
no one said Arsenal undeserving. I don't get why you
No, I'm not being defensive. I'm asking for you to make your point. You've not made a point yet.
We're getting there, and every time you guys jump in, because you're getting defensive about it.
I didn't even land what I was trying to say. I actually think the league is better this season. I actually think the league is better, but the top echelon of teams are not where they were last year. But if you look at the league, anyone's beating everyone. Brighton are much better. Newcastle clearly better. Fulham are even up there right now. The actual level of the league has increased. But if you're looking at City, they're not the same City. Liverpool are not the same Liverpool. These are the two teams that we all expected to be going toe to toe. No one expected Arsenal to be in this position, but Arsenal clearly, and again, you can only quote what I said. I clearly said it earlier. Arsenal are the best team in the league right now. It's clear. Like, there's no denying that. I'm not saying that the level of the Premier League has dropped. It actually hasn't. It's got better. But the fact is that all the other teams are not where they need to be right now, and that's why Arsenal are where they are.
I think because of Arsenal, like going from like a 5th place team to top of the league should also show people that things change quite quickly, and the good teams become the good teams very quickly, and the not so good teams become not so good very quickly. I think for me, like when I'm hearing this, I'm like, so are we being disingenuous to Manchester United and Newcastle? If the points totals are not lower in general from like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, if the points totals at this point in the season are not lower, or Arsenal are not, 15 points clear and everybody else is like, all scrambling. For me, it's just the teams have changed, but the league is still the same. But the good teams are different now. They're just different teams, but the quality has not went down.
In terms of after 18 games, I want to put that this season, Arsenal 47, City 39, Newcastle, Man United are both on 38 points each. Spurs, by the way, are actually 5 points ahead of where they were last year. Ironically, considering the run that you've been on, you had 28 points after 18 games. You're now on 30. You're 19 games at 33 points. Go back to last year though. After 18 games, I'm just going to wait for this to load in front of me. Top of the table had 44 points, so we're 7 points. Sorry, 3 points worse. Liverpool were second with 41 points. Chelsea with 38 points. Arsenal fourth with 32 points. So it's similar to what it's now. 4th place weren't quite as good. And then a drop-off was like West Ham with 28 points, United with 20 at 27. Actually, Spurs at 26. You're actually 7 points better this year than you were last year.
You're worse than us by this point last year. That is bad. That's
we
bad.
had
Nuno was the manager, weren't he?
Oh,
Nuno for 10 games.
Nuno
for 10 games.
This super chat here says Spurs fans are shameless, always make excuses, so their team hears their excuses and never raises their levels. Arsenal had just 1 loss and 2 draws. Paul and City have nothing to do.
It's like people just want to hear what they want to hear. There's no excuses.
We both acknowledge that. I feel like we both acknowledge
it's crazy.
Arsenal being
How many
better,
times can I clear up? Yeah, it's so mad. So mad.
Let me.
Them two guys over there.
Again, so
I can't do it. That way. Them two guys. Don't forgive me.
HK, you're on. Yeah, I don't know what you're on. HK.
I mean, I want to come back to Arsenal, but we're kind of talking a bit about Spurs here as well. This here says Spurs might win the Conference League next season. Spurs.
I mean, I think that place is relevant. That's replaced for Liverpool and Chelsea. They should worry about conference.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We're not even that. We've been awful. We're not even that far behind you.
So we've all been awful. There's nothing to brag about.
You have not been awful. You've not been awful. Don't do that. Don't do that. Have you had a run of 1 win in 9 games? Because I don't.
Spurs' run. Spurs aren't ungrateful. That's
exactly. We're not bad ball. We've lost 4 of the last 5 home games.
We had 1 win in 9. We had 1 win in 9.
We're not in good form either.
It's crazy, but I want to ask you about Antonio Conte, because for me, I know that everyone's on it in it, but for this first half poor performances, coupled with Antonio Conte's terrible form as Tottenham manager against the big teams, a defeat and 2 draws against Liverpool. You have beaten City, a draw and 3 defeats against Chelsea, just 1 win and 2 defeats against Arsenal, and battered twice by Manchester United. Like, is Antonio Conte and his system and style a problem at Tottenham?
Yeah. Can I go first on this, George? Can I go first? I just want to... For me, Conte has a lot to shoulder in terms of the blame. The reason why I can't go full tilt on Conte is because the board and the ownership are doing the same thing they always do, and they're not giving the manager the full tools to really, display his talents, really. But Conte actually needs to work with the tools at his disposal. When you keep starting the wrong right backs in the big games, when you keep playing 2 midfield against quality opposition who have 3 good midfielders, you have to be blamed for that, because you're the one that is putting the players out. When you're not geeing up the players in the first half, I don't know what's going on, but it's time and time again. We're always under the cosh in the first half. We're always going behind. Don't get me wrong. No manager can legislate for Hugo Lloris's errors or Eric Dyer's errors and all of that. But still, It's a team performance, and the guy's not getting the best out of the team. So Conte does need to hold some corn. He needs to hold some smoke. He needs to take a look in the mirror as well, because at the end of the day, the players that we've got should be performing better than the performances I'm seeing, because we're not worse than a lot of the teams that we're struggling against. There's no way. We do have quality in this team. So
no, but Pat, the one thing that we both know here is those players that are letting us down are the same players that let us down for Mourinho, same players that let us down for Nuno, same players that let us down for Pochettino. I don't blame the manager whatsoever, because at the end of the day, we've got Hugo making mistakes. We've got Dyer making mistakes. Pochettino said Dyer wasn't a centre-back 4 or 5 years ago. Why is he still a centre-back at Spurs? He's a first-team player. It doesn't really make no sense to me. You have to look at the board. I'm seeing people put in the amount of money that we've spent, but if you look at half of those players, they weren't Conte signings. He's come out quite literally and said, I didn't want Spence. Basuma wasn't really a player that he wanted. And quite a lot of these players are like young signings we're investing into is not what he wants. He wants ready-made players. We haven't gone out there and given him the tools to do his job. And I don't expect our manager to go into any game and change his formation. He has his way of playing. He's won many league titles.
No. See, I disagree with that. Sometimes
but he has many
respect
league titles playing that way.
Patrick,
and the best managers are stubborn in the way that they tactically set up, and they go and beat teams playing that way. Conte has done that, and he's shown over the years that he can do that. But
yeah, he can, but also
we
at the
just
same
don't
time,
have the tools to supply him to play that formation to the
bro,
best.
we got three
We don't have a proper
midfielders.
wing
You
back.
can play 3 midfielders against Arsenal. Sorry, I don't agree with that.
We didn't need to.
Patrick, you signed up to Conte. You've signed up to Conte. You know what you're getting. You're playing 3-4-3. Conte is what he is. He doesn't change. He's not gonna change because he's been successful. He has 15 players he likes, and he will stick to those 15 players. He don't care.
I agree, but also sometimes
once you sign up. That's what you
your
get.
in-game, but your in-game management needs to adapt. When you're getting overran and you're 1-0 down,
he did, Pat, and unfortunately, we just don't have enough options on the bench.
We had midfielders that you could have thrown in. Sorry, you could have done that. Like, I don't buy this whole.
I agree with you. Like, Dyer's not a centre back, but your manager's still picking him. You've got academy players, right?
Exactly.
Pick someone. Do something different.
But we don't have another centre back. That's the problem.
But I do blame Antonio Conte because why you? I don't even mean it rudely. Is as if Tottenham were going to go out there and buy over 2 or 3 windows 15, 26-plus-year-old established top-class players. You've never done that in the history of your football club. Why were you going to start now?
I think he got lied to personally. I think Levy pulled a blinder on him, like he always does. I personally think he got lied to the same way he always, like we've attracted Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, so there has to be something in it where these big coaches will come in and they're getting paid. Of course they're getting paid, but they could get paid anywhere else. They're not managers that will suffer to get a deal. But when I look at this team, it's gone stale. Dyer and Davies have been there 9 years. Lloris has been there 10 years. Sessegnon, who's crap, has been there 4 years now. Davinson Sanchez, 6 years. These players are crap. Wouldn't get into any other top 6 team. And the board, again, haven't moved these guys on, not ruthless enough. And we just got players there stealing a living. And you can't throw these guys into big games and expect them to perform because they haven't been performing. It makes no sense.
Just on the Conte out stuff, because I know this is the big thing trending. I think, look, if Conte's not going to sign a contract and he makes it very clear that he's not going to sign that contract extension at the end of the year, then we need to start looking at other options. I do agree with that because we can't sit here dilly-dallying until February, March, and then he decides, oh, I'm not going to sign, and then we're fucked. And we've done another transfer window, done another 3 months of him, and then we're going to have to start a new project with a new manager again at the end of this season and give up the end of the season and not finish top 4, not finish in any way. So I do feel like we need to make the decision really soon whether he's going to sign a new contract and we're going to back him the way he needs to be backed, or we need to just get rid of him and start the new project earlier because at the moment there's really no clear direction knowing what's going to happen.
What project though? What project? If he's not going to get backed, what manager is going to get backed? This is why for me, I'm not Conte out.
Probably looking at Pochettino again, Pat. Man.
No. One second. I'm just going to say this. You guys probably agree with me. You guys currently don't have a project. What you have is you're trying to sustain and get the best out of what you have, which is 2 players that you view as the centerpiece of your whole thing, Kane and Son. You've been trying to build around Kane and Son and the leftovers of what Pochettino had from a couple of years ago, and you've been trying to stay near the top, and you are not going to be able to continue to stay at this level if you don't try to find a way to have a succession plan for when they get too old. Because at this moment in time, Son has been having one of his worst seasons at Tottenham. You have
his worst.
You have Harry Kane, who's been good, but at the same time, he can't save you by himself.
Kane's been sensational, to be honest.
Kulusevski
Not
was
good.
your only shining light in your attack. And let's be honest, Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, anytime they played, they've been threatening. And right now, the reality is behind them, you don't have midfielders who can do anything. Yes, you can play a 3-man midfield, but you know something? Since Jose, nothing's changed. You still don't have a creator in their midfield. Bentancur was injured. Yes, I acknowledge that. And he's probably your only real shining light in that midfield. So that is a big blow to you guys. But no excuses. As you said, no excuses for Arsenal, no excuses for Tottenham. You still lost this game because of your manager's incompetence. And he decided to change Perisic for Sessegnon, and it was still a mismatch. And now you have nothing going attacking wise.
That wasn't even the
You already
bad
know
change.
how poor your defenders are in that you already have in your team. Romero and Romero, you guys keep talking about Romero being this guy. Jess was 100% right. This guy's overrated. You guys continue to talk about how good he is. What is he doing? Like,
he is good. He is good.
Whole,
Come on, he is good.
Okay, maybe it's not even him. Let's go to the midfield. You guys play a young Sar, and he was your best player. I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Why are you shocked? What's shocking about that? If he's a good player, he's a good player.
I'm shocked in the sense that in a North derby, you have a 20-year-old midfielder coming in, and he's looking like one of your better
good
players.
for him. That's
That's amazing. I don't get what's
what?
Can I pop in really quick?
I'm not even done.
Can I pop in really quick?
Gal, give up the mic. Let someone else talk, please.
Yeah, hold on really quick. The only thing I want to say is, like, there's a comment here about, like, the style of play and stuff like that. And we talk about this all the time, but I do think there's an element of, like, Conte's style of play is just ragged, and, like, nobody wants to play that way anymore. And if you can't guarantee trophies with it, which he hasn't been able to guarantee trophies for Spurs with that way of play, everybody from Arsenal down plays expansive football. Like, I think the days of, like, sitting behind the ball is, like, gone, because, like, there's no Burnley anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were, like, the last team that were like, you know what, we're just gonna sit back in our shape. Literally everybody wants to play football, and I think you have players in your team that are probably just like, if this doesn't guarantee trophies, I don't want to play this way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I hear you, but I think we do play football, but it's just the players are not what
You
I
haven't
needed.
played
Like,
football for 6 years.
what are you talking about? Come on, like,
okay,
not okay. Yeah, come on.
Since Jose came in, you guys have been playing the same way. That's a reality.
Let me interject for a second, Patty. You play good football in quite a lot of these second halves, and that's the players doing it. The fact you don't do it in the first half so consistently, that has to be an instruction, or the manager don't care. Because let's just say
it's because they're behind, Terry. That usually in the second half they're behind. They have to come out and play.
But that means they can do it though. They're showing us with our eyes, we can see them playing, which means to me this is the way your manager's doing it. But I don't even think it's about not winning trophies. I think if Arsenal was in 8th right now, Spurs fans would be content. What you're gutted about is that your only thing you really strive for each year is finishing in front of Arsenal, and you're failing at it. That's what's making you angry.
Come on, no. Terry,
that is why that young man kicked out of Ramsdale in the crowd. So your fans are angry. It's why Richarlison's moaning about, like, players diving and controlling balls in their back. And Ramsdale was really winding us up. It's because Spurs' number one objective as a football club, finishing in front of Arsenal.
The season's not over, Terry. Let's get something straight away. The season's not over. We can still have a more successful season. We can still have a more successful season than all of you guys. If Arsenal don't win the Premier League, the FA Cup's still there.
No, but George,
you're not having a more successful season than us.
Arsenal won the FA Cup and they were 8th. They were 8th. Apparently, they had a better season than everyone.
Respectfully,
that's all we need to go and do to beat most of you guys. That's all we need.
You're not winning anything again.
How do you know, David? You don't know that.
David, chill. No, I'm sorry. We have a better chance winning the Champions League than you do. We do.
David, you're not in any competition barring the champs and the Premier. You've got no
We've
chance.
Got a better chance of winning. We've got a better chance.
I don't know, man. Can we stick to the point? Can we stick to the point? Can I? Because Terry said something about Tottenham and Arsenal. That the only reason why we're upset is because Arsenal first and we're whatever. That's nonsense. We're upset because we can see clearly that Conte hasn't been backed, And time again, it's the same failings. And that's why, for me, I'm not like, get Conte out of here. People overreact. Of course, we lost the North London derby. And I admit, even though the score was 2-0, we got battered in the game. I will fully hold my hands up and say Arsenal were the better team.
It could have been 4-0 by halftime.
Well, it was 2-0, innit? It was 2-0. We had chances as well, but you scored 2 goals. Again, huh?
You had none. Ramsdale was standing on his head.
You had none. We had chances. Sessi Young was through on goal. Ramsdale made a great save.
You had chances.
Harry Kane hit a shot. We had chances. Come on. But the
I'm
difference is...
saying you had chances, but I was giving credit to Ramsdale. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, no. Ramsdale was immense, and that's the difference. Ramsdale was superb yesterday, and we didn't look like scoring because Ramsdale is a good keeper, where Lloris, every time that ball was in the box, I was worried. So, but the point is, Arsenal are doing fantastic. My gripe isn't with where Arsenal are, where Tottenham are. Of course, it does intensify it, but my gripe is with the board and the fact that we've got Conte in and we're not backing him. And EGAL made a good point. EGAL was going on for ages, don't get me wrong, but he did make some good points in that. And one of them was the whole Kane and Son and not utilising this moment to actually build a team around them. And I agree. And again, this is another reason why Levy needs to go, Enoch needs to piss off, because we've had so many chances where they could have built on something and they don't care about on-pitch success. And it's just dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And that's why the fans were... And Terry, you made a point about the guy kicking Ramsdale in the back. I was in the South Stand. Ramsdale, for his credit, fans were getting onto him and he was giving it back and he was waving at fans and kissing the badge. And he likes going back and forth. I get it. That fan took it over the top. Don't get me wrong. No one should ever run onto the pitch and attack a player. But for me, if you're going to do that, because I was right there, I saw him clamber over everyone. If you're going to boot him, boot him. Don't do none of this soft shit. Like, he got all the way to Ramsdale and he literally tickled him. That was nonsense.
Patrick, so what do you say to George? Hold on really quick, Egal. So George in the preview said that he would prefer to lose to Man City to keep us from winning the title.
I did say that.
Slow us down.
On the premise,
Don't twist my words.
Let her finish.
No, because she's saying my words. I don't like when they're twisting my words. Because I said that from the premise that we beat Arsenal. I don't mind losing to City. I said we'll lose to City to prevent you guys from going further in the title hit. But that was upon us beating you guys.
I had the same. I understand.
Don't twist my words, Jess.
It doesn't matter either way, whether you beat us or not. Wanting your team to lose so that another team who lives rent-free in your head doesn't win the title validates and justifies what Terry said. It may not be as bad as all you care about.
That's my opinion. It's not our family. That's my personal
I'm coming to you next, Egal. I'm coming to you next. The reason I say that, and listen, Pat, I get your point that you guys are annoyed at your board and everything else, but you guys have been in this situation, barring of 2 or 3 decent years with Poch. You guys have been in and around this situation for my entire lifetime. The only time I saw you, like you guys got in front of Arsenal for a bit, and you guys were like, we're winning the North London derby race. We're happy. It's only now I'm only now seeing anger because I know because Arsenal are top. I still think if you were sitting 5th, a couple of points away from 4th, you'd be frustrated, but you guys wouldn't be angry. Your fans wouldn't be jumping onto the football pitch to kick football players. George, literally, like as you say, yes, it was on the premise that you beat Man United. But what you should be really struggling with, well, beat Arsenal. It should be let's beat Arsenal and then let's beat City, because then we'd be in a situation where we might only be a handful of points away from the top of the league. But you don't. Your view is I want Arsenal not to succeed more than my team achieve. That's
I know we're not going to win the league. If I know we're not going to win the league, I'd want City to win the league above Arsenal. It's just, I'm prioritizing my...
You're not guaranteed top 4, but you're willing to sacrifice.
No, but I don't get it. It's okay. It's okay to prioritize it when it suits your agendas. But for me, as I said,
what agenda? If my team was sitting 8th and we had no chance of achieving anything, and it was our final day of the season, Terry, final day of the, but it's not final day of the season.
I know we're not going to win the league. We're not going to win the league. I want City to win the league.
I didn't want Liverpool doing a quad. If on the final day of the season, Man United were playing Man City last year, and we had to beat them to secure a Champions League place, but it meant Liverpool won the quad, I would want the Champions League place and my team to progress. I would not, because we could win the Champions League the next year. That's more important to me than sacrificing that so Liverpool don't achieve. My club comes first. But with you, Arsenal come first.
No,
you guys again. You've
100%.
spun it to something that it isn't, but that's fine, man.
How have I
Go on.
spun it? That's exactly what you said.
As I said it was on the premise that I do not want them to win the league this season. That we're not going to win the league this season. If we're not going to win the league, what team would I want to win the league? Manchester City, the closest team behind them to win the league. It's just basic football knowledge.
But you are in a tight top 4 race. You should never want to sacrifice points.
When against at the Etihad against City, a team that we're probably going to lose again. It's not
Well,
sacrificing points.
Your
It's a game with more than 90.
Your record against City is brilliant.
At the Etihad, no.
What was the result
One win at the Etihad.
What was the result last year? What was the result last year with Antonio Conte?
The first win at the Etihad in how many years? It doesn't.
So you've got 100% record with this manager, with this system at the Etihad. You're willing to just throw that away?
100% record.
100% record. That will win.
You're doing too much now.
Sorry, I want to go to Egal. Egal's waiting. Sorry, Egal, go on.
Why are we surprised? We've told them from the beginning of the season that their football was unsustainable. We told them from the beginning of the season the way that they play is the way that they play. They tried to hit people on the counter, and even Manchester United dominated them at their house. We came to your house.
We didn't try and hit you on the counter, Gal, yesterday. When did we try and play counter-attacking football? The thing is,
Patrick, you spoke. Let me finish. Okay. My main
yeah, but at least make sense, though, innit? If you're gonna talk, at least make sense.
To be fair, they didn't try to play any type of football. So
yeah, like we didn't.
You're absolutely right.
You know what?
Talking shit.
Okay.
Everybody stop. Egal, go on. Finish your sentence, please, mate.
Honestly, I'm gonna get stopped every 2 seconds, anyways.
No, you won't. No, go on again.
First thing, George, I get it. Your main focus for this season is winning the FA Cup because you already lost the 2 most important games outside of winning a major trophy, which was the North London Derby at home and away. You guys lost the league double for the first time since 2014, and it must hurt your whole fan base. So the only thing you can focus on now is the FA Cup and potentially the Champions League.
What's wrong with that?
We all know you're not going to win the Champions League, so you make sure you win that FA Cup because that's the only thing that could bring you happiness. At the end of the day,
just like it done to you guys for many years. So you know how I feel in that sense, don't you? You know exactly how I feel.
One second. The difference between Arsenal and Tottenham is we know what we are. We don't have to bring it up every single day. That's the reality. We know we're the bigger club. We know we are the ones that you guys strive to be. We know that we're the ones that basically you guys are benchmarking to look at as what you guys bring happiness to your season. When I said to Patrick at the beginning of the season, you want to be what Arsenal are this season, that's the reality. Now you're mentioning that we're potentially going to win the league and you have us as favorites to win the league. You've confirmed that. On top of that,
how has that confirmed it? Me saying that you're the better team. Where's the confirmation?
Potentially win the league.
So when have I said I want to be like you lot? You're just talking rubbish. That's what I'm saying. This is why I keep putting in. You want to win the Premier League. You want to win the Premier League. You're putting words in my mouth and just talking rubbish.
Let me finish.
You haven't won anything yet. Word to the wise, Egal. Newsflash, you have not won the league yet.
I agree with you. Just like 9 games in, when we said you haven't won anything, and you said we're only 4 points off Arsenal. So hence, if they're in a title race, we're in a title race. You're not in a title race anymore, are you? You're in a top 4 battle.
Egal, just shut up and win the league, please. Like, allow it. Egal, please. Just allow it.
Patrick, the reality is.
Egal, allow it. You're just talking. You're just talking for the sake of talking.
One second. The reality is, George and Patrick both were very confident in their team coming into the season. I'm not saying you're confident you're going to win the league. I'm not saying you're confident you're going to accomplish major honors. But one thing you were confident about was you're going to finish above Arsenal. That was the one thing you're going to have.
Why wouldn't we be? We finished above you like 5-6 times in a row. So why wouldn't we be?
That is the one thing you banked on, saying no matter what, saying Tottenham's day is not happening. And this year, not only did we dunk on your head home and away, we broke the curse, we broke the captain's curse, and now saying Tottenham day is going to happen. You can't do nothing about it. And when you had your chance to try to stop us this season 2 times, home and away,
Egal, you done with your bullet point?
Egal, it's not an essay. Please.
Guys, we're gonna go.
No, but you know what? I've been patiently waiting. I'm done.
No, you have. We're gonna go through some of these super chats. I'm gonna come back to you in a minute. This one here says, Terry, can you stop putting the narrative on all Spurs fans? I don't care about Arsenal. We have been angry with the board since Poch left and even before. Jerome, you're one of the point. Jerome's one of the very few Tottenham fans that speaks sense in terms of like what he actually thinks. He never goes with the grain. He speaks his mind. I like good old Jerome. Terry, you said you'd rather Arsenal win the league than City. Yes, but not at the expense of Man United. If I was told now Arsenal win the City could do 3 on a bounce, but Man United miss out on the Champions League, as an option now, I'm picking being in the Champions League.
Can I just clarify one thing on top of that though? Because the thing is, we play City back to back, essentially, sandwiched between Fulham. So I get where George was coming from, because there's still so many points to make up. And if City were the only team that could actually put the pressure on Arsenal, I do understand what he was saying. But the fact that City can't even win their own games, forget it.
I get that. I get that. This here says EGAL is just from Jerome again. EGAL is right. We have not been playing good football since Jose. We have been stuck with 5 at the back for years now, is what Jerome says.
Just because you play 5 at the back, don't mean you can't play good football.
Jose never played good football.
True. Kane was pocketed. Spurs' attack was bad, and Arsenal's defense was great. Then Kane couldn't even get their obligatory North London derby penalty. I mean, Højbjerg tried, didn't he?
I'd love that. Was shameless. I'd love to talk about Arsenal's performance as well.
We're going to move on to that. We're moving on to it. Just give me a second, please. Put 8 men behind the ball. 14 to 15 of them Prem teams will beat them. Conte's style of play isn't right for today's football. Name me top 10 teams in the world right now who play negative football. Get Poch is what Guna Dan has got to say. Conte chased away Spurs' depth. Adberg, Winks, I think he means there might be Reguilon, Ndombele, and a decent centre-back to this team. And Poch would get top 4 easy. Conte doesn't match Spurs, is what's said there. Is this City have fallen off, or is the competition just got better? I think the competition has got better. Well, it's maintained by certain teams.
I think it's a bit of both.
It's a little bit of both. Yeah, I would say it's a bit of both on there. People forget that Arteta took over when we were 11th and took us to 8th. So he has improved us every season. Also won a trophy in his first year, is what Eduardo says. Here's a quick question, quick answer for you Spurs fans. Klopp to Spurs and Conte to Liverpool. Would you do that swap today?
No.
What?
You know what? Yeah.
You know what?
No.
I agree with that.
Really?
No. They're saying
no. Crazy.
Klopp is a yes man. He's just gonna take more trophies and
True. That's it. Joe here says, I swear EGAL thinks he's the god of football. He talks rubbish. Pipe down. Is what Joe says. Conte chased. Oh, sorry, I've already done that one there. Arteta got rid of Aubameyang from earlier, and Ronaldo woke up the squad. But what about before is playing for the badge means nothing now. Professionalism is dead. On Arsenal, though, Jess, talk to me. Your performance yesterday, and surely there must be massive confidence of winning that league title now.
I mean, the performance was, usually in the North London derby, it's, testy and a lot of big challenges and everybody is edgy. And I hate to say it, but we just kind of swept Tottenham aside. Like, it really wasn't like, it was easy. And the performance was, it wasn't like they were playing in a North London derby. It was like they knew that they needed to get these 3 points and it didn't matter who it was. They were collecting those 3 points. And that's what really impressed me more than anything. And, Tottenham are a decent team. Like, it's not like they have nothing, but we pretty much relegated them to nothing. And the first half, the game was done. First 30 minutes, the game was done, really. I know people are saying Tottenham came back into it second half, but it was game state and we didn't have to do anything from there. We just needed to stop them from scoring. So I was really impressed by the professionalism, the mentality, we bodied them and treated them like nobodies. And I know that sounds bad, but it's just, that's something I haven't seen from Arsenal since the Invincibles, to be honest. I've not seen us go into an away ground against a difficult opponent and just say, you know what, we need these 3 points. We're not even getting wrapped up in the emotional bullshit of this game. And this is coming from, and I know people don't like to hear it, but it's significant because if it was your team, you'd keep hammering it home. It's the youngest team in the league doing this right now. And they're under massive pressure. Manchester United are coming up. Man City had dropped points. So it's one of those things where we could have easily went to Tottenham, a place that we rarely get points from in recent years, and just bottle it. We could have done that. But it wasn't even like a contest, and that's what I really liked about it. Slick passing. It was just clinical when we needed to be, defended well when we needed to. It was just, it wasn't as good as Brentford away, because I think that was our best performance all around. But damn, it was good. It really, really was. And I can see the confidence is growing with the title. For me personally, it still depends on what we do in January. But I mean, I think we can start to dream now. Why not? You know, that's what football's about, right?
Facts. Jess, I fully agree with you. And I just feel like that first half, we buried the game in the first half, just like you said. 36th minute after Odegaard scored his goal, a guy who was criticized heavily at the beginning of the season. People were saying he doesn't show up. Why is he the captain? And he's doing what he's doing right now, playing like one of the best midfielders in the league, one of the best players potentially in the league this season so far. And if we do go on to win it, he'll probably win Player of the Year. Ramsdale stepping up big, a guy who was questioned why we signed him. Another person, Ben White, he had Son in his pocket. Son still isn't out of his pocket. He dropped his keys, wallet, and Son when he went home. You got Eddie Nketiah, who's a guy who's been questioned if he could do it. He should have scored 2 goals. It would have been 4-0 up by halftime. But it just goes to show you like what kind of game this was. Thomas Partey, if he scored that screamer, oh my God, what that could have been goal of the season. But overall, the team performance, it just goes to show how controlled we were, how dominant we were, and the fact that we're able to do this away from home at Tottenham, a ground that's been a hoodoo for us over years. It just goes to show you this is what champions are made of, and we potentially could go on to win it. And yesterday's game was one of the first games that put people on notice and said, you know what, this Arsenal team is for real.
I told you all. About Arsenal. You can see, but the thing is, eye tests don't lie. You can see it. The same as you can see with the way Tottenham have been playing in the last 2 months of football, that these results were coming. You can't keep playing badly in the first 45 minutes. Liverpool, you knew they were going to drop off because you can't keep conceding first and win. This is just basic football knowledge you're taught as a 5-year-old by your dad in the park. Everyone who watches football, if you don't know this, you need to go and give your dad a slap in the face. You need to say, Dad, why didn't you teach me ball? You can see it. This isn't even like, it's like telling someone they'll die if they don't breathe. It's just normal stuff. And you could see with the zip in Arsenal's pass, the way they press. The most impressive thing with Arsenal this season, no one talks about it, is how quickly they get back into shape when they lose the ball. The work rate to get back into shape. That's why Pep and Liverpool were so successful. That's why Tuchel in that first 18 months was so successful, because they get back into shape so quickly and they're hard to break down. And teams that are hard to break down and score against invariably win games. You know, winning games is based on scoring goals, but titles are based on how good you are at defending. And Arsenal are sensational at it. They really are. And
you know
they're throwing up trees. And it was easy yesterday. Spurs had chances. And I don't want to take away from Ramsdale. And Jess will say this to you. I was saying this in the studio live during the game. I'm not just saying it after. As much as there were good saves from Ramsdale, I didn't get that feeling of, they're going to score. I didn't get the feeling.
What does that mean, though, Terry? Because Son should have scored, and so should have Sessegnon. So it's not like
exactly.
They both should have put those
there was something about the body language of your players and the way you were carrying yourselves in the day. You didn't look confident. I didn't go. I didn't get that moment. Like, and by the way, like, that's not a dig at you guys. That's just how I felt watching it. And everyone that was in there, I wish you guys were in the room yesterday, because I was saying it throughout the game. It wasn't like I'm saying it now, 24 hours later. Jess will back me. KJ was there. Colleen was there. Javerne was there. Javerne's wife was there. I don't think they're going to score. I can't see it. It was just there was just something missing from you yesterday. And I think it was like a defeatist attitude. But that happened because Arsenal beat it out of you, in my view.
Exactly. And that's the whole, like, I've been waiting for us to get back to a point where we were like this, you know, where the game was kind of already over before the game started. And that's not to like really be down on Spurs or anything like that. It could have been anybody, but you want to suck the life out of your opponent before the whistle even blows. And I think with the way that we're playing and the way that they're playing, it was already kind of set up for us to just go out there. And if you guys didn't score first, you're done. You were done in that game, and we scored kind of early, and it was done. So, and
I disagree. To be honest, I disagree. I think with Hugo Lloris's mistake totally changed the game. We weren't beaten
let me
before
tell you why he made that mistake. Though he's made a mistake in both North London derbies, and he's been making mistakes all season.
He's crap now.
But when teams get on top of him, because Newcastle also made him make a mistake. I think you make a player make those bad mistakes.
No,
I
was on the train. Now I'm off it. He's just a bad goalkeeper.
Okay, so basically what you guys are saying is that if he had not done that, you guys would have What would
Jess,
you,
you
if
can
you
say
hadn't done
that,
that,
but
what
the
would you
thing
guys
It
is,
will be a
have done?
different
no,
game.
wait, the
I
thing
did.
is though with Hugo, yeah, is Hugo's
You
made
guys
the
are in the
most mistakes this
dreamland.
season.
You guys
He's
weren't.
made the
You
most.
guys weren't. No.
He's made
Even
the
if
most
he had
mistakes
not
this
made that mistake,
season,
we
and he's
still would have. We
continued
still
to
would have
make
beat
these
you guys up
mistakes
in
that
that
he
first
did
half.
years ago.
You don't know
He
that, though,
made these
Jess. You
mistakes
don't
years
know.
ago.
You don't
If
know
you
that.
guys don't
This is
know that
nothing
he would have
new.
came, what in your body language said for any period of time in that first half that you guys were going to do something?
I don't know about the first half, but we had chances, like George has said. We had good chances. And for me, don't get me wrong, Ramsdale looked sensational, so it would have been hard to beat him. But it doesn't dispel the fact that we had chances. Kane had a good chance. Sonny had 2 good chances. Sessegnon had a good chance. Kulusevski was attacking that flank, and he was causing you all sorts of problems on his first game back after how long. So
Yeah,
it's not like we were down
defended
and
better
out.
than you guys. I mean, that's the we were
Yeah,
the
but
better team on the
Kulu
day.
was still causing you the
Better than you.
problems, and
But
I don't
Kulusevski
agree with that.
I'm sorry. This is the second
I don't
time
agree
in
with
this
the fact that you're
conversation where
telling
you
me.
guys have tried to minimize what we've done by saying, like,
No
first
one's
it was
minimizing it, but
you
you
guys
said
are
to me
saying,
that
no,
the
first
game
you
was
guys
done
did,
before we
You
started.
found
you
us
were
slow
swept the first
defensively.
time.
We haven't
Well,
said
the league
nothing.
Yeah,
actually, I'm not sure if it's
We
as
didn't
good.
even comment on
I'm
your
not sure if
performance.
Lloris had made that
yeah.
mistake. He might have
Okay,
been able
don't
to
you
get
agree
back
with
into
her that the
it.
lineup
We
you
didn't
guys
even
have
comment on the
beaten?
performance.
Yeah,
We commented
I
on
didn't.
Hugo, but you can be
Exactly,
defensive.
I
You
said
guys
that.
talk here when you seen the lineups, because when I seen the lineups, I agree with Jess. I felt like going into the game, I felt like it was definitely
I was fine
Garcia.
with the lineup. My only problem was Perisic for Sessegnon. I would have rather Perisic started, but I understand that Perisic has played a lot of games recently, so I kind of understood it from that. But other than that, I had no problem with that, and I don't believe we was beaten before the whistle. I think
Where's
that
Bissouma? I thought he was better than Partey at the beginning of the season. You were saying that.
We played Saar because Saar's been playing better in the recent games.
yeah,
It's
the guy that you laughed at because he's young and how could he be a best player?
No, I didn't laugh. I actually gave him credit.
If he's playing well, he's playing well. I didn't
gave
really
him
understand
credit.
that point.
I don't
It
get
didn't
it.
make no
Like,
sense.
I shouldn't give any Spurs players credit. I'm gonna
No,
give
but
the
you
team
did it
credit.
in a disingenuous way, trying to say he's your best player.
No,
Like, if
I
he's,
said he was doing well. The rest of the senior players.
You didn't say. You said if he's your best player, it says a lot about your midfield.
Exactly, that's what you
Yeah,
said.
it
That's
does.
exactly what
It
you
says
said.
a lot about your team because let's be honest, your most senior players were the ones that let you down.
What do you mean? Like it's like us saying the same thing
players
about
let you
Saka
down.
last season because he's a 20-year-old
Exactly.
and he's
Yeah,
a best player.
yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's
I don't
fine.
get
It's
it
fine.
personally.
You guys
I
are
hear
really,
you guys. I hear you guys.
rattled. It's okay.
Cheers. I've got some super chats to do here that I don't want to do. Martin says we need some business done in January. No way we sustain the charge without reinforcements. Personally, I believe Edu is the individual at Arsenal under the most pressure, and that's a first for him. Good point raised there. The feeling yesterday was just that Arsenal were not boxing in the same category. Seems like no team are playing as well as them. That's facts. Yeah, I thought Arsenal in the second half were quite reserved. It was almost like reserving energy and not working at the same rate, which top teams have to do because you need to reserve those legs. Tell Eddie to drop 100 million. Give us Kane. Listen, it's never going to happen, but we were talking about that yesterday. Sol Campbell 2.0, Kane to Arsenal for free next year. It'd be hilarious. I'm just saying, I'd love to see it for the jokes. I don't even think Arsenal played that well, is what Division here says.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to even play our best. Like
no.
Like I said, it was over in like the first 30 minutes.
We came to their house and took those 3 points and left. Wow.
It says it still bothers me that Arsenal consistently have new hurdles they need to surpass while setting them have the luxury and convenience amnesia. I spoke about it in my video earlier. I've seen more criticism and horrible words said about Arsenal in the last 2 months than I have done teams like Tottenham and Chelsea. It's kind of like on talk shows, in the media. It's kind of mad, to be fair. Hugo's mistake or not, we would still have lost that game. This is from Jerome, who's a Tottenham fan. We have to admit that they are way better than us at this point in time. That's what I mean by Jerome. Man speaks facts.
No, he doesn't. He just agreed. Just because he agreed with them doesn't mean he speaks facts.
I think again, I don't want to.
Sorry,
I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak.
What?
Go on, Dave.
I was gonna say I don't want to speak for Patrick or George, but my point was that I believe Lloris is just a bad goalkeeper. I still believe they would have lost, but I don't think that Arsenal made him make that mistake. I just believe.
Okay, I get that. I get that bit.
Were they this critical of all their players prior to the game, or is it just because they've lost this game, they're all shit?
I don't know.
What players were we critical of?
Are all your players bad, and have they been bad this whole season?
What players have we said? What players did we say were bad?
Slow this down. Not everyone at once. I would say this. Maybe not these the George and Patty on the show. But the amount of Spurs fans I saw getting invited into the Sky Sports studios and pundits putting like 7, 8, 9 Spurs players in combined 11s That's a madness. That's a madness. And what I
We
didn't
only
see,
had 2 over here, Terry, right?
what I did, yeah, I know we did. I didn't say you two, but what I'm saying is I didn't see Spurs fans calling those other Spurs fans out. When you let it sit there, that's because you're agreeing with it. Like, here, this is from Nabil. He says, Arsenal fans, Pat and George are saying you were a great team on the pitch and deserve to win. You are acting like Arsenal is the god of football.
Mate, thank you. Thank you.
That's not what they said. They said that. No, you said that. You said if that goal had not got in, the game would have been different. So basically, what you're saying is that.
Well, I mean, technically,
that goes for any game and
technically,
anything.
it would have been
get opportunities.
But Jess, if you think about it, it would have been different. If that goal doesn't go in, it would have been different. They may not have won, but it would have been a different game.
I mean,
okay,
thank you for being the voice of reason.
I would say if you just look
You're
at
top of the league,
where we
you can't
are.
be wrong.
No, I'm sorry. Can I finish? We've scored 5 goals against you guys. You guys only scored 1 on us in the balance of play on both sides. You guys did this the first game. You guys said we had opportunities and chances, and if Son could pass a ball, we would have won that game. If so and so wouldn't have just let it clang off of their shin, we would have probably got this. If buts and maybes really don't matter, you lost both games, both times pretty badly. We're the better team.
No one's disagreeing with all of that. Jess, everything you're saying.
So
no
why
one's
are you clinging on to?
But you're saying that
as if that would have been your saving grace. You were battered.
No, we weren't battered. We weren't battered first and foremost, and secondly, Lloris. The stuff you said about Lloris.
Everybody said your first half was embarrassing. What are we talking about? Like, let's not.
I know. All of a sudden now, because it's so funny
it.
because you lot are top of the league now. All of a sudden, everything you say has to be right, and everything you say is accurate and factually correct, and your voice is the only voice that counts. Yeah. It's actually mental. You don't need to take a look at yourself and listen and take a step back. No, listen to what we're saying as well.
But you were controlled. I'll tell you that.
We weren't battered. Even if
you
controlled the game. And I've come. What did I say? What did I say when I come on here? I said you lot were a much better team. I was impressed with the way you moved the ball around. I was actually in awe of how good Ramsdale is. Is that not what I said? Please quote me for me, innit? Don't mix me with all these other people because I've come on here and given you your praise and your plaudits.
First, you guys say we're the best, we were the better team, and all this kind of stuff. But then when you start to get into it, it's if Lloris hadn't, even if Lloris hadn't done that, we would have just scored another win.
Moments change games.
Exactly.
And that's a big moment that changed the game. So that's
are you guys holding on to that? Because that's not going to get you out of
it. You can't.
Guys, I want to go to some more. Say your point. Go, mate, and then we'll do the last.
Yes, you said to them before the game, we are not Crystal Palace, and they were putting on a brave face because it was a North London derby at home. I mean, but they really knew going into this game that we were the superior team, and it just took this game for them to throw their toys out the pram, say their season's over, and start doing even more protesting.
Again, why do you say stuff that isn't true?
My main point is, you guys knew the outcome of this game. What was going to be at best was going to be a draw. I think all you guys were just putting on a brave face. I never really.
The fact that you've never come to our ground,
I never really felt like.
And you're saying
I never really felt like you guys.
Why do you just make up stuff? Why do you make up stuff?
I never really felt like you guys actually expected to win based off the run of your form.
I could say the exact same thing to you because neither you or Jess were saying that you're guaranteed to win. You both said we're leaving with something.
You know what? I'll be the first one here to tell you my team impressed me with the way they performed. I didn't think it was gonna be that easy. That's
to be fair, they have the same right to do the exact same thing as you, but
yeah. I want to do these last few super chats here. This one says these lot would have understood better if Eddie would have buried his chances. That mistake was manufactured by the pressing of Arsenal on Lloris. Jabs here says yesterday was an example of fear factor. Lloris and those attackers were shook, plain and simple. Spurs only had something to say after the game. Richarlison coming out whining about all the disrespect by Ramsdale was embarrassing. He's always been one of the most petulant players on the football pitch.
He should be fined his wages for the whole month. That guy tried to slap Ramsdale.
He did slap Ramsdale. He slapped him in the face. He slapped him. He assaulted him. Good. Good. Football fans, get your studies. Wait. So you guys are telling me that because of one mistake, we could have picked ourselves up. Let's face it, we would have got. We have got this kind of. We've had this kind of mentality for years, is what Jerome says. So I agree with what they were saying. It would have been a different outcome if that goal hadn't have gone in. but I still think Arsenal will win him. But there we go. Jess and Arsenal fans, you are showing your insecurities. 20 years of disgrace. I get it. Just take the W and stop, is what Nabil says.
I'm so confused. Nabil, you're a Man United fan twerking for Tottenham. This is.
That's pretty
No,
much all it
he's
is. He's a Man United
he's not
fan.
twerking for
always
anything. He's
saying
just
negative
actually saying what's going on.
He's shaking
Like
his
me,
head.
like me. That's just
okay, well, let me
one.
put it this way. Let me put it this way. Even if we are insecure, you're in fifth. So nobody
Why are you
cares.
coming at us? What did we say?
It's an
before?
Arsenal. It's a Man
Like,
United fan
everybody's
that
on our
said
side.
it. A Man
Nobody's
United
on
fan
our
that said
side.
it.
It's working
Exactly.
for
I
us.
You
don't
seem
understand.
so defensive and insecure about us. It's a Man United fan that sent you, and you're coming for us again.
Honestly, like,
Hold down.
Drago
I'm just
here.
happy.
this
we
is
left
this is literally the same person who sat up here and said that he knew they were gonna win because that's what always happens.
And you're the same person that said you're not confident in winning, and you see your team winning, but you're leaving with something. You only see a draw. potentially.
I love being bad, you know.
It's okay, guys.
Patrick is allergic to not interrupting.
No, it's only a gal because he was a gal today was talking absolute rubbish.
No,
so
but
I had
George-
to just jump in. Sorry, I'm sorry. A gal, I like a gal. He's my guy, but today he was just.
George never said one thing. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Arsenal's going to win the Premier League? I want to know your opinion.
I've said time and time again, I still think City are going to win the league. I expect Arsenal to bottle it as they always do.
Okay, but then earlier, this is where you get caught out, as Terry would always say. You can't use two different logics in the same stream on one topic. You said City have fallen off, hence the league is easier, but you still think City are going to catch us.
Wait, how is that contradictory? Egal, you've just been waffling this whole stream, and now you continue to waffle. City have fallen off. Does not mean that they're not going to win the league.
City can fall off and improve for the next 90 games and outscore you. And
we're halfway through the season, Egal. The league's not over.
Egal, I'd love to back. I want to back you in it, but I can't.
Egal, stop, bro. Stop.
He's basically trying to say City's going to come back miraculously and still win this league. But
Why
Arsenal
can't
are going to fall off.
Why can't? If that's what he thinks, it's not like he's crazy to think that.
So
He's
you
seen
need
what City
Arsenal
can
to
do.
fall off. That's the reality.
That's not an improbable thing, though, is
No,
it?
but he didn't mention that. You guys are just making it seem like, oh, anyways, it is what it is. Go ahead.
I don't really care about that part. I'm just like
I think Arsenal are going to win.
At this point,
Yeah, for the record, I think Arsenal will win the league as well.
I just want the season to continue the way it is and let these guys continue to suffer and just.
Of course, you want it to continue because you're in first, but it doesn't mean that's going to happen, Egal.
You're not going to give us any credit, Patrick, until the season ends. So I'm
I've been
just
giving you credit the whole stream. The whole stream.
No, you're backhanded compliments.
No, allow it, Egal. Come on, Egal. I literally.
You're backhanded compliments.
You're insecure. You're an insecure Arsenal fan. You want everyone to trade down and say that you're going to win the league. We don't all agree with you, Egal, and there's nothing wrong with that. We don't all agree with you.
Wanting people to give you credit where credit is due, I don't think is actually insecurity.
No, but Jess, I legit have been giving you credit. I legit have said time and time again, you were fantastic.
In the same breath, you're saying,
look good.
What have you accomplished? That's
guys,
no, because you're talking like you won the league, and I'm just like, you haven't won it yet.
We're going to move this on. Just because there's still super chats to get through. This here says if Eddie buried his chances, if Partey's shot had gone in, not if buts and maybes. Spurs fans are ridiculous.
We could say the same as well, though. It's not like we didn't have chances. Do you know what I mean? I don't get that logic. Like, at the end of the day, you had chances, so did we. Sessi Young should have scored.
We have tangible evidence of, I get what he's trying to say. If buts and maybes are nothing, like.
Yeah, I agree. But it has to be the same for both. You can't be like, oh, if you.
But it doesn't matter for us because we won the game.
Yeah,
we don't have.
I'm just replying to that.
Yeah, this here says if holding. I don't even know if holding Jesus, not as in Rob Holding, but it says Jesus played that game. Spurs would have lost by up to 5 goals. How would Eric and Levy? So Enoch and Levy. Sorry, I read that wrong. Enoch and Levy go if you lot keep this energy or reinforcing failure. Speak out your fossil football. WC world class manager is what he means. Sorry, that was awfully read by me. Tottenham supporters so happy losing. That's the mentality. Arsenal clock ends says Jess schooled George and Pat hard. And score if goalkeepers were swapped. Ramsdale was class. Hugo has jazz hands. So if the goalies swap positions, who would have won yesterday?
Spurs.
Ramsdale was amazing. That's the reality.
Yeah,
Ramsdale was in one of those moods where he just wasn't conceding.
He was, but at the same time, see, the thing is, the intensity from Arsenal dropped when they were 2-0 up in the second half. The counters didn't quite come off. That would have been, again, if you hadn't have scored them goals in the first half, you'd have maintained the intensity like you did in the it wasn't in the game in the Emirates earlier on in the season. As soon as you got that third goal, you took your foot off because I swear it was 2-1, right?
Yeah.
Terry, I just don't like how you're saying the second half thing because Tottenham have been the best second half team in the Premier League this season. So whether they dropped off,
There's no trophy for being the best second half team.
Hang on. You have in games where you've been losing and the team sat up and tried to pick you on the counter. When you were at Old Trafford and it was 0-0 at half time, were you the best team in the second half? No, because it was 0-0 and we maintained our intensity against you.
And okay, that's one game. Name all those other games then, Terry. You're just pointing out the one game that you remember because the Man United game.
It's true. You guys are usually down.
Guys, hang on a minute.
Okay, perfect.
Stop. Let's look at it then. So just mention that we did the second best team against Arsenal in the game.
That's a one-off game, though, Terry.
Just wait. Were you the second best team in that game? So that's one. No, you beat Brighton 1-0. You beat Everton. So we've got Arsenal.
These are games that we scored in the second half, though, Terry.
Hang on. Let me fucking go through the list and stop interrupting me. So you've got your first 4 games on there. You're at 50% already. Like the first 4 games, you're at 50%. You're at 50%.
Wait, what do you mean? 50% what?
So Arsenal 3-1, you weren't the best team in it. The next 2 games, Brighton and Everton, you were. The following game against Man United, you weren't. We're only 4 into the list. You're only at 50%. You're only the best team. The point is, when you need a goal or you're losing, you step it up. But in games where teams have been dominant over you or they've been of a high quality, you haven't been able to get back into the game. You haven't been able to.
The only game you were able to do that was against us.
I'm generally confused with your point, Terry. Sorry, what do you mean? You were talking about teams.
Okay. So you got beat by Arsenal yesterday. Okay, you weren't the second best team in the second half because you didn't score any goals. You were against Palace. Were you Were you better than Villa? No. Were you in Brentford? You were, but you couldn't come back. You and Leeds. It was 50-50 in that second half because they scored 2 goals, I believe. You weren't better than Liverpool in the second half. You were definitely better than Bournemouth. You weren't better than Newcastle.
We were better than Liverpool in the second half. They just held on.
But you weren't. They beat you. They beat you.
The facts show that we scored the most goals in the whole league in the second half.
They beat you. If you look at your list of results from that Arsenal, you look at that Arsenal defeat until now. How many of those? You've only won about 4 games. How have you been a better team?
Again, so Terry, I don't know how we were talking about the second half, so now you've changed the point completely. You literally said that we were only.
If you don't turn the games around and win them, you've not been the better team.
Terry, you can be a better team and lose a game. You do know that.
No.
You can legit.
No. That happens. That happens if for 90 minutes you have 18, 19 shots, 15 on target, and they're all saved.
You can be a better team and lose games. It happens.
Hang on, and it's a smash and grab up the other end. When you've conceded the lead, you're 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 down, and then the team sits back and lets you play, that's not you being better. They're letting you do it and they're trying to counter you. And only on 2 or 3 occasions have you come back and beaten them or got a result. The rest of the games you've lost. That's why you've dropped from being a title contending team, according to your fans, to sitting 8.
We were never title contenders again. No one said that.
Come on now. We'll get back to these super chats anyway. Here says, best team in the second half. What did I hear? Jaws, instead of trying to rebut everything, why don't you speak on Arsenal's performance and your guaranteed 3 points you were supposed to get? Is what Mario says. For me, Man United are more of a threat than City. I disagree with that personally, but thank you for the compliment. Spurs have won 2 second half trophies. Hallelujah. What Drag
Trophy
says.
jokes in 2023, like really, it's so old. Like,
it'll be forever relevant until you guys win a trophy.
Nah, it's dead.
Arsenal and City still to play each other twice. Those games determine the league, in my opinion. They could, but there's still a 2-point gap for Arsenal at that point. But they're going to be significant, no doubt. Give Arsenal EPL after 18 matches. Everybody just says Arsenal are gods. probably will shut up. It is Spurs' opinion. Let it be. Terry missed my super chat for EGAL. No, I put your super chat up for EGAL, I believe. If I missed it, I apologize. I'll try and find it. George, I call you Jaws. Did Arsenal bottle it when they won the league at White Hart Lane? Your entire club is built on bottling it, is what Nima says to George. There, very, very fiery indeed. Very
One
fiery.
thing, Terry, we can all agree on: Tottenham have at least 6 to 7 dead players that they need to get rid of, and they're going to talk about their manager. They're going to talk about their owner, their whole situation. At this point, they need to find a whole rebuild, and they're in a situation where Kane could be leaving in the summer. And this whole situation where you've been above Arsenal and competing above Arsenal, I want to see what your succession plan is in the coming years, because you're going to be now going in your doldrums.
I hear that. I hear that. Listen, I want to say, guys, great show as ever. I appreciate the heat. I appreciate the debate and the challenge. Viewers, thank you all very, very much indeed. Please smash the like button before you leave and subscribe. Tomorrow morning, back with some more transfer news for you. Afternoon, myself and Lee Gunner are live. That's going to be an interesting conversation indeed. And then, of course, we're reacting to the FA Cup games that are on. So it's FA Cup replays tomorrow, I believe. And it's a busy week because Palace, United on Wednesday, and then City, Liverpool on Thursday. So, yeah, lots more.
City Spurs.
City Spurs. Sorry. I've got so much football at the moment. My brain is discombobulated. Listen, hit the like and share button before you leave. Panel, you are all amazing. Thank you very, very much. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you.